Chapter 6:15. Auntie, what are you doing at leisure bar? What's the matter? Donghuang Baiji asked curiously. Yi Hua let out a light sigh, then looked at Donghuang Baiji and said, Auntie's son is most likely among the 300,000 people, and Auntie has also seen you before. With that, the two girls understood that the auntie was here to settle the score. In actuality, I had already tried to persuade her son, but unfortunately, her son still chose a path of no return. Donghuang Baiji felt that she should go and explain to Donghuang Baiji that she and the others did not kill her son at all. Yi Hua, I will go with you to explain. Yi Hua said faintly, no need, I can go by myself. Yi Hua felt that it was useless to explain too much. If there was a cause, there would be an effect. This was a fact that could not be changed. I, the Supreme Overlord, am not a good person. I am already doing my best to persuade my beloved wife to explain such a thing to me. With a heavy heart, Yi Hua arrived at Leisure Bar, and Blood Demon was currently waiting respectfully for him. Your Honor. Where is he? Yi Hua asked. Blood Demon lowered his head and said, stand outside. Stand? Why didn't you let her in? How long has it been? Yi Hua's tone sank. Right now it was currently a thunderstorm. The Blood Demon didn't understand why his honor was angry, but he still lowered his head and said, it has been 2 days. 2 days? Why didn't you inform me earlier? Yi Hua hurriedly walked out. To Yi Hua, this ant was the first human that dared to scold him. Of course, she was also the first human that Yi Hua didn't want to kill, and also the first human that Yi Hua got to know. The Blood Demon had a terrified look on his face. His honor actually got angry because of a human? How is this possible? Yi Hua walked to the entrance of Leisure Bar, and sure enough, he saw that familiar figure that was currently being drenched by the heavy rain. Yi Hua materialized an umbrella in his hand and walked forward. With a wave of his hand, the ant's clothes that were originally wet became warm. Why aren't you coming in? Yi Hua asked gravely. The middle-aged woman looked up at the unfamiliar young man, her eyes devoid of any anger. Only after a long while did he finally ask. His voice was extremely hoarse. Can you return my son's corpse to me? Looking at the expectant gaze of the auntie as well as the look of despair on her face, for the first time, Yi Hua had a different feeling. The face of despair wasn't that beautiful anymore. It had already been a few years since Yi Hua got to know the auntie, and what Yi Hua saw the most was the amiable smile on the auntie's face. Even when the auntie was scolding Yi Hua, the auntie's smile was still that kind of gentle. That kind of gentleness would probably never be seen again. Seeing that Yi Hua wasn't speaking, the auntie immediately kneeled down in front of Yi Hua and begged, I beg of you. Towards humans kowtowing to him, Yi Hua had always felt very comfortable in his heart. However, at this moment Yi Hua was extremely displeased, and an evil aura gushed out from his chest. A desolate scene froze in front of them. A woman was kneeling in front of a young man with her head lowered. The sky was still pouring and it was getting heavier and heavier. It landed on the ground with a rustling sound. Yi Hua tightened his grip on the umbrella and said in a low voice, I'm sorry. This was Yi Hua's first time apologizing to a human, and this was also Yi Hua's last time apologizing to a human. The rainstorm was still continuing and the auntie slowly stood up. Without taking another look at Yi Hua, the auntie turned around and walked towards the entrance of the alleyway, and the clothes that she was wearing were instantly drenched by the rainstorm. At this moment, Qinya and Donghuang Baiji also jogged out of the house. The two of them leaned against Yi Hua's side and looked at that lonely and desolate back view of Yi Hua, all the way until Yi Hua disappeared from their sight. The pain of losing her son caused the auntie to lose her motivation to live. Yi Hua stood there for a very long time, and Qinya and Donghuang Baiji also accompanied the auntie for a very long time. The two of them were able to sense the emotions that their husband was currently feeling, and they knew that his mood was definitely not good. Let's go in. After a long time Yi Hua said unhurriedly. After walking into the bar, Yi Hua sat beside the bar counter, and Blood Demon hurriedly poured a cup of wine for Yi Hua. Yi Hua had always been a person who took small sips of wine, but today he took a sip of wine. However, all of this was because of a human auntie. Qinya and Donghuang Baiji sat beside their husband and accompanied him attentively. Yi Hua let out a breath, then said while wrinkling his brows, this auntie is the first person who dares to reprimand me. No, there are a lot of people who reprimand me, but all of them are dead. This auntie is the only one who made me. Speaking up to here, a ray of red light flashed past Yi Hua's eyes. Who am I to blame for all of this? Peace Association, Justice Alliance, or Wu Li himself, or even me. Hearing this, Blood Demon was also extremely shocked. That auntie actually dares to reprimand his honor. That auntie is actually still alive. That auntie actually dares to reprimand his honor. Yi Hua laughed lightly. However, this laughter contained a bit of self-mockery. The crepes that this auntie makes is the most fragrant that I have ever eaten. And she is also rather stingy. Every time she would still charge me money. Doesn't she know that me eating at your place is already giving me a lot of face? And she actually still dares to charge me money. Yi Hua smiled and drank another mouthful of wine. Only now did Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji realize that the position of auntie in their husband's heart was actually quite high. This was for sure. If not, why would Yi Hua help a human to teach his son a lesson, and even advise the human not to send his son to die? Xanba listened to Xanba's advice, but that Wu Li didn't. After drinking a few cups of wine, Yi Hua took a deep breath and said, "This aunt is my first friend and she might also be my last friend." After finished speaking, Yi Hua stood up and walked towards the stairs. "I need to take a nap." Blood Demon lowered his head and remained silent. So his honor is still so emotional. Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji understood their husband even more deeply. So Yi Hua actually has such a side to him. I really didn't expect this. The two women followed Yi Hua upstairs, opened the bedroom door, and saw that Yi Hua was already lying on the bed. The two women didn't feel embarrassed. They took off their clothes, snuggled into their husband's embrace and comforted him. That night Yi Hua had a dream. In the dream, the auntie was still selling crepes at the entrance of the alleyway, and the auntie's face that was filled with wrinkles still had that same smile on it, and that auntie was looking at him. The next morning, the rainstorm outside had already stopped, and the sound of raindrops could still be heard coming from the eaves of the house. Yi Hua opened his eyes and returned back to his usual demeanor, then lightly hugged onto his two wives. After hearing that, Yi Hua let out a light chuckle. Two snorts. "Hubby, why don't you sleep for a while longer?" Qingya asked tenderly. "That's right, you woke up so early." Dong Huang Baiji asked lightly with her beautiful eyes closed. Yi Hua said faintly, "I woke up to buy breakfast for you two at the entrance of the alleyway." Speaking of the entrance of the alleyway, Yi Hua recalled what happened yesterday. Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji, who were in Yi Hua's embrace, immediately opened their beautiful eyes. Dong Huang Baiji said tenderly, "Hubby, I will go and make breakfast for you. And the two of us will make breakfast together. You go and sleep first." After finished speaking, the two women got up and went to prepare breakfast. Meanwhile, Yi Hua lay on the bed for a while, then put on his clothes, went downstairs and walked out of Leisure Bar. Chapter 616. I almost can't recognize Yi Hua anymore. Dong Huang Baiji mumbled. In Dong Huang Baiji's heart, Yi Hua's style of doing things had always been iron-blooded, to the point where he wouldn't even give any face to his subordinates, let alone an auntie who was only selling Chinese crepes. Qingya said lightly, "Perhaps it's because we still don't know enough." In actuality, Qingya had known Yi Hua for a slightly longer time than Dong Huang Baiji. In Qingya's heart, Yi Hua was an extremely cold and indifferent man, and it was to the point that Qingya even had a kind of feeling that Yi Hua didn't like people. However, every time Qingya followed Yi Hua to the alleyway to buy breakfast, she would be able to feel that at that moment, Yi Hua would loosen up a bit. Perhaps Yi Hua had treated this auntie as a relative, and only a relative would accept the other party's reprimand. Yi Hua, who walked out of Leisure Bar, looked towards the entrance of the alleyway, and his gaze immediately became serious. A familiar stall and even that familiar back view. Yi Hua walked over with large strides. It was unknown what his mood was right now, but in any case, it was the kind that was very complicated. However, when he walked closer, he discovered that he had actually seen wrongly. This was indeed an auntie, but she was no longer the auntie from before. However, the cart was exactly the same. "Hey handsome, do you want one?" The woman selling pancakes turned her head and asked with a smile. Yi Hua's face sank, and soon after, he shook his head. "No need." With the change of people, the popularity of the fruit pancake was also taken away. The woman smiled and said nothing. After a short while, Yi Hua asked, "What about the person who sold the medicine here earlier?" The woman turned around and smiled. "Oh, you mean Su Qin? She sold this tool to me. I heard she even sold her house. She seems to have returned to her hometown." Su Qin. So this aunt's name is Su Qin. After so many years, I only found out today that this name is very nice to hear. In the future, don't set up a stall at the entrance of this alley. Yi Hua shouted out coldly. The woman immediately wrinkled her brows, and when she came into contact with Yi Hua's bone-piercingly cold gaze, she immediately got a fright. Muttering that he was sick, she hurriedly pushed the cart and left. Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette and looked at the familiar position. It was as if he could hear an auntie saying beside his ear, "Young man, you have to pay for the extra egg." After finishing smoking the cigarette, Yi Hua extinguished the cigarette. It seemed like he had also extinguished the past that was hard to come by. At the moment when Yi Hua turned around, Yi Hua was still that supreme overlord. Those who complied would still have a sliver of hope for survival. Rebel. He could only go to hell to repent. Yi Hua returned to the leisure bar, and Qingya and Donghuang Baiji came out with congee with pork and century egg. It's still very hot. Qingya placed the breakfast in front of her husband. Yi Hua laughed lightly, then picked up the spoon and lightly shook it for a bit, then took a small bite. It was very comfortable. It turned out that his wife's cooking also tasted like this. After enjoying his wife's breakfast, Yi Hua returned back to Voidless Realm together with his wife. I feel that the taste of Leisure Bar has changed a bit. Without the Chinese crepes from the morning, Leisure Bar seems to be incomplete. As for what happened next, it was very simple. They just had to slowly wait for the matter to ferment, and the next time they would be greeted with utter pain and despair. I never joke around. It must be the deepest despair. 1 week's time passed by very quickly, and just like what Yi Hua had expected, the incident of killing 300,000 people had become more and more influential. The banner of eradicating evildoers had even been raised, and demonstrations had appeared all over the place. Voidless Realm had become the most searched term on the internet, and various foreign powers had also started investigating this mysterious Eastern organization. To think that they would actually be so cruel and ruthless. It was a pity that Voidless Realm was located in a desert, and the danger of that place was not something that ordinary people could deal with. Even the exact location of Voidless Realm was not something that could be obtained by ordinary people. Qing Qindi liked this kind of effect a lot. The bigger the commotion, the better. Those old monsters shouldn't be able to sit and do nothing. After all, Voidless Realm is a good thing. Small world. This is a big treasure. Qing Qindi took out his Nokia from his pocket and dialed a number with a smile on his face. When the call was connected, Qing Qindi laughed. "Brother Sin, it's me, Qing Qindi. Let's meet?" "All right." Qing Qindi continued to call. "Brother Chu, it's me, Qing Qindi. Let's meet?" "When?" Chuing asked faintly. "How about Tuesday?" Qing Qindi laughed. "No, I have to go to work." "You can't possibly work overnight, right? Let's do it on Tuesday night." Qing Qindi laughed. Chuing remained silent for a while, then said, "All right." Qing Qindi continued to make the third call. "Big Sister Jiao, it's me, Tian Qindi. Let's meet up on Tuesday night, how about it?" From the tone of the call, Qing Qindi seemed to be a bit low profile. A ghost-like voice rang out from the phone. "Tuesday night, I have an appointment with someone to play mahjong." "Big Sister Jiao, we can play mahjong anytime about Voidless Realm." Jiao Ling remained silent for a while, then said faintly, "All right, I'll cancel this game then." "I'm really sorry." Qing Qindi laughed. Jiao Ling responded and hung up the phone. Qing Qindi continued playing mahjong. "Brother Xiaotian, are you still cooking?" Qing Qindi heard the sound of the stove and the sound of the spatula ringing out from the phone. "Sure," Xiaotian said impatiently. "If you have something to fart, then say it. Let's meet up on Tuesday night." "I'm not free." "Don't worry, I won't disturb your brother Xiaotian cooking." However, right at this moment, the manager's scolding voice rang out from the phone, and even Qing Qindi heard it. "Sure, Xiaotian. How long do you take to cook? Do you not want to work anymore?" Coming right away, coming right away." Sure, Xiaotian said gravely. "Let's talk about it when the time comes." Hearing the busy tone that came out from the phone, Qing Qindi shook his head helplessly. "These old monsters really can't sit still. I have to invite them one by one. Don't they know how to do it themselves? One is more and more crafty than the other. It is only I, Qing Qindi, who is too naive." Right now, Li Hun, who had reincarnated, cut a man's neck, and a young lady was so frightened that she hid at the corner of the wall. There isn't a single good thing in men. Do you know? You have to rely on yourself. Li Hun shouted lightly towards the shivering young lady. Shaking off the blood on the knife, Li Hun walked out of the house. "These few days I have already killed a lot of men. Killing is especially satisfying. In any case, as long as I see other people being sweet and affectionate, I will know that that man definitely doesn't have good intentions. Kill. Seeing other people quarreling, scumbag. Kill. In any case, I am going to kill all the bad men in the world. Men are not good things. Other than lying to others, there is nothing else." Li Hun's current state of mind was the typical one that couldn't bear to see other people doing well. Why can other people be more fortunate than me? Just for the sake of satisfying myself by killing everyone. But right now, killing ordinary people is no longer enough to satisfy Li Hun's needs. Even though I am so strong, I have still been deceived by men. If I want to kill, I must kill strong men. That way I can save more women. Beauty, it is very dangerous for you to stand at the side of the road. Dou Fushi looked at Li Hun, who was in a daze, and shouted, "This woman is really beautiful." Chapter 617. Li Hun took a glance at Dou Fushi, then turned around and left. Why didn't he kill Dou Fushi? That was because Dou Fushi did not have a girlfriend by his side. If there was a girl by his side, Li Hun would definitely kill all the heartless men in the world. Dou Fushi should be glad that he does not have a girlfriend, right? However, after seeing Li Hun leaving, Dou Fushi did not have the intention to strike up a conversation with her. Dou Fushi's current action had undoubtedly saved his life once again. If he had gone to strike up a conversation with her just now, before he could even shout for help, he would have been killed by Li Hun. Dou Fushi had unintentionally saved his life twice. Dou Fushi, who turned around and left, muttered, I did a divination today and my life is in danger. Seems like I have to be careful and not get hit by a flower pot. I have to be careful when crossing the road and not get hit by an electric bike. I am Dou Fushi, a gold raider. How can I die? Hee. In the blink of an eye, it was already Tuesday night. Qing Tian appeared on a street that was filled with midnight snacks, casually found a table outside and sat down, then began ordering. Although the world had changed, eating skewers for midnight snacks had never changed. Enjoying delicious food was a kind of enjoyment. This streaky pork is not bad, give me another 20 RMB. Qing Tian shouted. He felt that it was not bad. Sure, give me another case of beer. Okay, coming right up. While eating the skewers, Qing Tian leisurely waited. Suddenly, a fat man sat down. This man's fat was not fat, he was muscular and sturdy. He was the chef Shi Xiaotian. Damn. Why did you call me here? Shi Xiaotian took out a bottle of beer and directly bit open the bottle cap with his teeth, then raised his head and started drinking. Then he grabbed the skewers and started eating, causing the surrounding people to sigh, but they did not dare to do anything. This Shi Xiaotian's physique was truly a bit scary. Brother Xiaotian, don't be anxious, there are still a few people. Qing Tian smiled. Shi Xiaotian snorted and continued eating. Not long later, a woman who wore a white big round hat and a noble white evening dress leisurely walked over, causing the surrounding men to be dumbstruck, and some even whistled. The woman didn't seem to mind. She even winked at the drunk men teasingly. Sister Nine, you're here. Have a seat. Qing Tiandi was also very polite and personally set up a chair for Jiuling. Jiuling chuckled. Heaven and earth, you're not stingy today. He made such a big move recently, how can he be stingy? Shi Xiaotian picked his teeth with a bamboo stick. I'm just acting as your vanguard. Just as he finished speaking, a bicycle stopped beside him. Chewing arranged her tools and sat down with a smile. She didn't say anything. As soon as Chewing sat down, a child carrying a school bag also sat down. Brother Sin. Qing Tian called out with a smile. Children are sins. Although he looked like a child, he was actually very old. Du Zue put his bag aside and picked up the beef tendon to eat. Qing Tiandi, why did you call us here? Qing Tiandi didn't beat around the bush. This little brother has already paved the path for you guys, Voidless Realm is just around the corner. Du Zue ate until the corner of his mouth was filled with grease. He didn't have the demeanor of an expert at all as he said vaguely, you did so much just to force us to come out, right? Of course not, it's been a long time since we got together. Besides, everyone knows about the benefits of Voidless Realm. How could the four of them not know about it? A small world, if it grows up, it will become a big world and they will be the master of that big world. How exciting would that be? However, all experts wanted face, and without a good excuse, they didn't want to do something that would tarnish their reputation. And Qing Tiandi was going to pave the path for them, to openly fight their way into Voidless Realm. This was also the reason why Chewing asked Jiu Yi to do that, because that small world was truly too tempting. Jiuling said, Qing Tiandi, what are you thinking of to trick us again? Shi Xiaotian sneered, you're full of evil tricks, I won't believe you. Chu Ying's silence was Kim's philosophy. Big brother, big sister, why don't you all believe in me, Qing Tiandi? If we manage to take down Voidless Realm, wouldn't it be good for us to be the masters of Voidless Realm? Qing Tiandi maintained a smile on his face. Just like what Shi Xiaotian said, he was full of evil tricks. Qing Tiandi, do you think that we don't know what you are planning? Du Zue took out a napkin and wiped his mouth, then casually threw the napkin on the ground. Seeing this action, Qing Tiandi wrinkled his brows, but he didn't say anything. Jiuling took out a pair of sunglasses from her bag. If I had known earlier, I would have gone to play mahjong. It's boring, I'll be leaving first. After finished speaking, Jiuling stood up and left. Shi Xiaotian drank another bottle of beer, then said, I'm going home to study the recipes. Du Zue carried his school bag and said lightly, I still have to go to school tomorrow. In an instant, 3 people left and his first love was still sitting there. Qing Tiandi squeezed out a smile and said, Brother Chu, how about we work together? I still have to wake up early for work tomorrow, bye-bye. Chu Ying stood up and left on her bicycle. Looking at Chu Ying's back view that was getting further and further away, the corner of Qing Tiandi's mouth twitched slightly. His smiling face slowly darkened, and a trace of viciousness flashed past his eyes. After a long while, Qing Tiandi also stood up and left. Boss, you still haven't paid the bill? The boss hurriedly chased after Qing Tiandi and wanted to stop him. But before his hand could even touch Qing Tiandi's clothes, the boss was sent flying, and it was unknown whether the boss was dead or alive. Even the shop assistant didn't dare to chase after Qing Tiandi rashly. This man is a bit scary. However, if one were to observe carefully, a trace of an arc appeared on the corner of Qing Tiandi's mouth. High up in the night sky, the 4 people who just left were standing in the sky. This Qing Tiandi is still the same as before. Du Zue sneered. Jiuling laughed tenderly, doesn't that mean that he still wants to scam us? Shi Xiaotian pinched his neck and said eerily, I really want to wring his neck off. His plot didn't succeed, so he vented his anger on the boss. He really hasn't changed. Chu Ying chuckled. In fact, the 5 of them had cooperated before, but Qing Tiandi was trying to scam them, so the 4 of them didn't want to have anything to do with him. Sometimes they even couldn't help but fight with him. However, they came from the same place and could be considered fellow countrymen. Killing one of them would mean one less. This time we'll do it ourselves. Du Zue grinned. Qing Tiandi had done so much to pave the way for them, so there was no need for him to intervene. Chapter 6:18. When do we make our move? Chu Ying asked in a low voice. Right now, everything was ready and they could make their move at any time. Du Zue looked towards the direction of Voidless Realm, then said, There is no time like the present. Since we have already come out, let's make our move tonight. Shi Xiaotian and Jiuling, who were at the side, nodded. Since they had already come out, they might as well finish what they had to do. Did they still have to choose an auspicious day? They didn't believe that. Meanwhile, in the middle of the desert outside of Voidless Realm, there was currently a bonfire, and there were a few people sitting around the bonfire. From time to time, those people would let out laughter. Wife, grill a chicken wing for me. Right now, Yi Hong was rather manly. He was actually able to order Zishan, who was beside him, to grill a chicken wing for him. Zishan smiled gently and said, All right, I'll grill some chicken wings for you. LV Liang smiled at the side and didn't say anything. This is all because Zishan is giving me face. Once I go back, this little brother of mine will become a coward. Death Mage was sitting beside him. Sun Fong was not present today. After eating his wife's grilled chicken wings, Yi Hong sighed softly. Uncle Wei, why did you ask us to take turns to guard this place? Could it be that someone else is coming? Zishan took out a tissue and passed it to her husband. Yi Hong smiled as he took the tissue and wiped his lips. Zishan said, Uncle Wei might have also received his honor's order to prevent anyone from launching a sneak attack on us. Then, if someone is really going to launch a sneak attack on us, then his honor's prophecy is truly incredible. LV Liang sighed with emotion, and within his mind, his honor's tall and sturdy figure appeared, and a blazing heat could be seen emitting out from his gaze. Death Mage let out a cold laugh. His honor is a supreme overlord, how can we compare with his intelligence? There's nothing wrong with what Master Spellcaster said. Yi Hong said with a grin. The reason why his honor is able to lead such a powerful team is all because of his own capabilities. Zishan laughed, all of you are just a bunch of bootlickers. For example, I am his honor's brainless fan. His honor is so handsome. Facing his wife's limitless worship of his honor, Yi Hong asked curiously, then is his honor more handsome or am I, your husband, more handsome? Zishan poked onto her husband's forehead unhappily, aren't you talking nonsense? It's definitely because his honor is handsome. Yi Hong felt as though a sharp sword had stabbed into her chest. It was so painful. LV Liang laughed out loud, what you are doing is called masochism. I would never ask this kind of question, and yet, you are actually competing with his honor in terms of handsomeness. Little brother, you sure have guts. Yi Hong also discovered that she had misspoken. I actually became so arrogant that I want to compare my looks with his honor. I'm ashamed. He silently prayed for his honor to spare his life. LV Liang took a look at the time. It was almost midnight. It's time to change shifts. That's right, it has been a long time since I last fought. If someone really comes, then hurry up and come. Zishan's hands were clearly a bit itchy. It was no longer interesting for her to abuse her husband at home every single day. Yi Hong said in a low voice, "Honey, haven't you hit me enough at night?" Zishan said casually, "If you are able to make my stomach become big, do you think that I would need to hit you? This isn't my fault." Yi Hong said embarrassedly. Speaking of which, it has already been a few months, but Zishan is still not pregnant yet. Could it be that it is that difficult for a deity to get pregnant? His honor's wives are already pregnant with their second child, and I didn't even get to see a single fart. Speaking of children, Zishan became angry. If it's not your fault, then whose fault is it? You aren't even willing to work overtime. I'm just worried about you. What worried about me? From what I see, you just don't want to have children. When did I? Look, you aren't even irritated anymore. The husband and wife immediately started scolding each other. Zishan was the main attacker, while Yi Hong was the one who explained. Death Mage and LV Liang turned around and shook their heads helplessly. Death Mage thought to himself, "Fortunately, I am a skeleton and I can't shoot anything at all." Meanwhile, LV Liang thought to himself, "The Blood Race sisters didn't even mention about having children at all. If they are pregnant, then just raise them. If they are not pregnant, then it doesn't matter either." Right at this moment, 4 figures appeared at the side. To be more precise, there were only 3 figures and one of them was a husky. "Sister-in-law, greetings?" The 4 people stood up and greeted respectfully. The 3 people who came were Lai Gu's 3 wives, Yi Wenxia by Xiaozhen, and of course there was also that Yun Lang who stuck out his tongue. Lai Gu's identity in the team belonged to his honor's direct subordinate, and his status was outstanding. Thus, his wives' status naturally rose as well. However, Yi Wenxia and Bai Xiaozhen were still very amiable. They did not become arrogant because of their status, because they understood that if it wasn't for Lai Gu, it would be impossible for them to be standing here and serve the Supreme Overlord. This time they took the initiative to participate in the mission, not for anything else, but because they wanted to bring honor to their husband and let his honor praise them. As a wife, this was something that was necessary. That's why these 3 women are all smart women. If not, how would they be able to obtain Lai Gu's affection? Lai Gu was very picky. In the past, he would often change his female dragons, and now it has already been a year and it was still the same 3. From the looks of it, these 3 women had already charmed Lai Gu. "You all quickly go back and rest, leave this place to us." He laughed lightly. In actuality, things like staying up all night can be handed over to other people, it's just that they took the initiative to request it. "Sister-in-law, thank you for your hard work." LV Liang cupped her hands and said with a smile. After all, after acknowledging Lai Gu as his big brother, his hairstyle was split in the middle, and he looked very handsome. However, just as everyone was about to change shifts, an enormous spiritual pressure appeared in the sky. The 7 people and the husky looked up at the sky, and excitement could be seen in their eyes. They really came. His honor is so powerful. He was even able to guess this. The 4 people who came were naturally Du Zue, Jiuling, Chuing, and Shi Xiaotian. The 4 people stared at the bonfire, and of course the people beside the bonfire also had puzzled gazes. Why would these people appear here? Shi Xiaotian asked curiously. However, he wasn't afraid, he was simply curious. Jiuling laughed lightly. "There's even a dog, how interesting. There's also a skeleton, humph." Du Zue said coldly. Chuing asked puzzledly, "Is that the black gown?" "So what if it's the black gown? They are nothing more than a group of women." Du Zue said indifferently. He seemed very calm and didn't panic in the slightest. The 4 people in the sky were very calm and collected. The 7 people below were no longer calm and collected. "Sister-in-law, look, it isn't time to change shifts yet, how about you all sit down and rest?" Zishan said hurriedly. "It wasn't easy for people to come and cause trouble for us, so how about we let them go? Not only are we able to fight, we will also be able to obtain his honor's praise. This is simply killing 2 birds with 1 stone." With a light smile on her face, Wenxia said unhurriedly, "Zishan, since you called us sister-in-law, you should listen to sister-in-law and go back and rest properly. You can just leave the matters here to sister-in-law." So incisive, even Yun Lang who was at the side nodded his head vigorously. "No matter what, I came out from Voidless, and before I even had the chance to show off my might, I was completely oppressed by Big Sister. Now that the opportunity is here, how can I let it go? Chapter 619. LV Liang wouldn't let go of such a rare opportunity. She took out her mobile phone and pointed at the time. Sister-in-law, look, it's 11:59. It's not 12 yet. Bai Xiaozhen was still the same as before. She was a bit shy and said softly, LV Liang, jump. It jumped? LV Liang didn't react for a moment. She then looked at the time. It turned out that it had jumped to 12 o'clock. F***ck, how could this be? Yi Hong had to fight for her wife. Sister-in-law, look, these people all came before 12 o'clock. Let us do it. Sisters-in-law, go back and accompany Big Brother. I'll keep watch tonight. Zishan felt very comfortable when she heard these words. Her husband knows that he is thinking for me. She flicked her hair that was messed up by the wind and said softly, Yi Hong, Zishan, didn't you two want to have a child recently? Hurry up and go back and give birth to your child. You can leave this matter to sister-in-law. Seems like this doesn't make sense. The 7 people immediately started a nervous debate. Yunlang really wanted to say, I want to fight for it too. You all can't treat me like a dog, I also have human rights. The 4 people in the sky naturally heard their conversation, and their expressions turned ugly. They were actually arguing about such a thing. If they had the guts, they should attack together. Truly a bunch of people who don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Shi Xiaotian twisted his thick neck and immediately released a wave of evil energy. It actually took on a physical form and the yellow sand was disintegrated by this evil energy. It was indeed very powerful. The 7 people arguing below became even more excited. Wow, so awesome, so cool. I will do it. I will do it. Ignorance is human nature. I like these people even though there's no sense of accomplishment in killing them. Jiao Ling said indifferently, her beautiful eyes filled with killing intent. The child, Du Zue, revealed a mocking smile. What a fool. On the ground, Yunlang barked wildly at the 7 debating people. Woof, 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 Imperial translation. They are scolding us and they are even scolding us for being stupid. Yi Hong suddenly thought of an idea and suggested, Sister-in-law, why don't we each take a step back? The other party has 4 people and we'll each send 2 people. How about that? Upon hearing Yi Hong's suggestion, everyone felt that it was feasible. He still nodded on behalf of the class, which meant that he agreed. Yi Hong's idea was to let his wife vent her anger so that she wouldn't take it out on him every day. Big brother, help me please. Yi Hong begged LV Shu to give this opportunity to Zishan. If not, she would definitely not have a good time. Of course, LV Liang knew his little brother's pain. He patted Yi Hong's shoulder and said, Little brother, I know your pain. When Yi Hong heard this, she felt wronged. Zishan is simply becoming more and more domineering. Zishan is simply riding on me every single day. Big brother, you are my real big brother. Yi Hong was very touched. Big brother was the best. Sai, you have to work harder as well and satisfy Zishan's request. After that, her attention will be placed on the child. Yi Hong nodded. She also wanted to, but she just couldn't get pregnant. Did she have to go to an andrology hospital? He did not know which one was better. Death Mage, who was at the side, condensed a death scythe in his hand, and under the illumination of the moonlight, a cold glint flashed across the death scythe. Needless to say, Death Mage and Zishan would definitely be the ones to fight. Zishan excitedly hugged onto her husband and gave him a French kiss. After that, she walked out of the room with a satisfied look on her face. LV Lu said with a smile, Look, as long as you satisfy a woman, she will be completely obedient to you. Yi Hong felt that there was nothing wrong with Zishan's decision. Zishan was already very happy just now. I have to continue making Zishan happy in the future. In another class, the 3 women were discussing with each other, and Yunlang was directly ignored. Yunlang squatted at the side and let out a low groan of grievance. I, Yunlang, also want my human rights. I also want to fight. You all can't do this. I want to report. As the big sister, she gave the 2 younger sisters the opportunity out of courtesy. Wuxia, Xiaozhen, the 2 of you go and have fun, don't lose his honor's face. And we understand. Death Mage, Zishan, Wuxia, and Bai Xiaozhen could be seen walking out of the room. Du Zue, Jiao Ling, Chuang, and Shi Xiaotian descended from the void as well. Looking at the 1 man and 3 women in front of them, Death Mage's appearance was rather intimidating. However, the other 3 women looked extremely weak, as if they would be sent flying with a single slap. Du Zue pointed at Death Mage and hooked his finger, then lightly leaped onto the ground. Death Mage versus Du Zue. Shi Xiaotian clenched his fists, letting out cracking sounds as he shouted towards Bai Xiaojin, "Beauty, come over and play with me." Bai Xiaojin pursed her lips, then went to the side to fight with Shi Xiaotian. Bai Xiaojin versus Shi Xiaotian. An evil smile appeared on the corner of Jiu Ling's mouth as she pointed at Wuxia. "Let's play with you then." "Alright." Wuxia's expression was still as cool as ever, and her voice was very cold as well. Wuxia versus Jiu Ling. Chuing was definitely going to fight against Zishan. Zishan versus Chuing. "Wife, do your best." Yi Hong placed both of his hands on the side of his mouth and shouted loudly. Zishan turned around and blew a kiss to her husband, then walked to the side to fight with Chuing. For battles were about to begin. First battle. Death Mage versus Du Zue. The two stood on the pitch-black ground of yellow sand, and spiritual pressure that could make people feel fear was being emitted from their bodies. Even the mutated animals in the surroundings didn't dare to get close to them. From this, it could be seen that this Du Zue was a very relaxed person. Without strength, how could he possibly come and fight against Voidless Realm experts? Furthermore, there were only 4 of them. However, Death Mage wasn't a benevolent person either, and the scythe of death that was in his hand was emitting a terrifying aura. "Lowly outsider, today I Du Zue shall help you." For Du Zue, who was carrying a school bag, to say such a thing was indeed a bit strange. Death Mage, GGG. Imperial translation, "You little trash." Du Zue naturally didn't understand what Death Mage meant. Du Zue sneered, then immediately emitted out his aura, causing a gale to howl, and the spiritual pressure to increase explosively. The black robe that was on Death Mage's body fluttered madly, and his pair of bony feet sunk deep into the yellow sand. Du Zue stretched out his small palm and placed his right hand on his left wrist, then shouted out explosively, "I'll send you to hell." Boom. A white light could be seen shooting out from Du Zue's palm, which immediately illuminated the dark world. The huge spiritual pressure split the yellow sand into 2. Death Mage stared fixedly at the incoming white light. The scythe of death that was in Du Zue's hand was immediately stabbed into the yellow sand, and a huge black barrier appeared in front of Death Mage. Suddenly, the white light collided with the black barrier, causing a loud sound to ring out. Yi Hong and the others couldn't help but turn their heads around and take a look at the black barrier. The battle has already started so quickly. Look at them, they are still chatting with each other. The black barrier was able to withstand the attack without any difficulty. This caused Du Zue's brows to wrinkle. Then Du Zue transformed into a meteor, and his small fist immediately smashed onto the black barrier. Crack. Cracks appeared on the black barrier like it was made of glass. Frightening spirit chi immediately spread out, and a wave of chi immediately spread out. This Du Zue was actually able to destroy Death Mage's black barrier with a single punch. From this, it could be seen that Du Zue's strength was rather terrifying. Chapter 620. Humph! You dare to use such insignificant skills in front of me, Du Zue? Du Zue shouted out in disdain. However, right after he finished speaking, a silver light descended from the sky. Du Zue's eyes narrowed and a long and thick rod appeared in his hands. Death's scythe and the rod collided. Bang! A loud sound reverberated throughout the world, and a ring of light spread out in all directions which actually caused a sandstorm. Du Zue raised the thick rod in his hands and laughed lightly. "You have a bit of strength, but it is not enough." GGG, Imperial translation. Where did you get your confidence from? Death Mage's bone finger immediately emitted an electric light, which was then transferred to his scythe. It could be seen with the naked eye that Du Zue's rod was conducting electricity. Zizi, a terrifying electric current flashed across Du Zue's body, and one could even see Du Zue's skeleton. Du Zue's entire body was emitting smoke and was trembling violently. Looking at it from afar, Du Zue looked a bit like a primary school student in a bar. Du Zue was dancing and had an afro. A green smoke was emitted from the top of Du Zue's head, and there was also a smell of roasted fur. The smell was very uncomfortable. However, Du Zue didn't seem to be affected much. Instead, his expression became even more ferocious, and he tightly held onto the rod in his hands. "You actually injured my body," Du Zue muttered to himself. "It has been a long time since I received such an injury, and I was actually injured by a puny outsider." Overlord boom. Du Zue could be seen raising the rod in his hands high, and the rod immediately emitted a terrifying pressure, causing the surrounding air to instantly boil and distort. The original metal rod also revealed its true form, and it was completely golden. As expected of a nouveau riche. Du Zue's gaze locked onto Death Mage, and the golden rod in his hands descended. However, in the instant that the rod descended, the rod actually became bigger and it was really thick and long. Before the rod even landed on the ground, the spiritual pressure had already split the yellow sand apart. Death Mage silently looked at the rod that was descending towards him. Of course, he wouldn't use his strength to fight against the rod. Last time when he fought against Xiao Yi, he learned a bloody lesson. Fortunately, my master was merciful and revived me. I won't make this kind of mistake twice. Alright, this will be the last time. Forget it, the opponent's strength was more than a level higher than Xiao Yi's. The golden club smashed down towards Death Mage along with blazing flames, and a ray of red light flashed past Death Mage's empty eyes. GGG, Royal Translation. Absolute Domain. Suddenly, a strange formation covered the yellow sand, making everyone gasp in amazement. Damn, the Master Mage is so strong. LV Liang exclaimed. Yi Hong also muttered, yeah, I feel like no one is a match for it under this absolute domain. Everyone at the side still tacitly agreed. Could be seen that Death Mage was indeed very powerful. The husky that was squatting on the side licked its feet in boredom. I want human rights. In the middle of the stage, a gigantic golden rod descended from the sky. Death Mage did not dodge the attack and just stood there, he did not even bother to defend himself. Die, alien! Du Zue shouted angrily. The child's voice suddenly became old and carried a cold wind with it. Bang! The golden cudgel had indeed smashed down, but it was shattered into pieces. The cudgel turned into specks of starlight in front of Du Zue's astonished eyes, and rose into the night sky. What is going on? Du Zue looked at the skeleton not far away in disbelief. He had clearly hit it. How could this be? Du Zue looked at his own hands with a confused expression. This was the first time such a strange thing had happened. GGG, Imperial Translation, Little Trash, kneel down before this Master Mage. Boom. Du Zue felt a tremendous spiritual pressure coming towards him, and his expression immediately turned sinister, and his legs began bending. Ha! Du Zue shouted out angrily, and an even greater amount of spiritual energy emerged from his body to resist against the spiritual pressure. The skin on Du Zue's face began falling off bit by bit, and his delicate skin also began degenerating, revealing wrinkles. In just a few moments, Du Zue had turned into a short and small old man. Du Zue's current appearance almost made Death Mage vomit. This is 2F** King disgusting. There are only a few strands of hair on Du Zue's head, his back is hunched, and his teeth are all incomplete. Coupled with that sinister face of his, Death Mage looks extremely disgusting. If it was possible to vomit, Death Mage would definitely vomit without any hesitation. I will kill you. I will kill you, alien. I will use your bones to annihilate evil. Du Zue roared towards the sky, and the layer of black clouds in the sky immediately dispersed, revealing a sky full of stars. Kill? Du Zue shouted out angrily. Cold stars could be seen flickering in the starry sky, and Death Mage raised his head and looked at the stars. From the looks of it, Du Zue still doesn't know what kind of situation he is in. The cold stars in the sky could be seen descending rapidly, and those were countless blades that brought along a scorching aura as they descended. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Blades that were formed by spiritual energy landed on the ground of yellow sand, and immediately beautiful patterns were formed. Everyone's eyes couldn't help but brighten up. Looking at this scene, LV Liang couldn't help but say, this move is pretty good for proposing. Yi Hong, who was at the side, silently nodded her head. Yi Hong still smiled and said, do you men really know how to be so romantic? From the looks of it, what Yi Hong said revealed Lai Gu's true nature. Right now, Du Zue was gasping for breath as he slightly raised his head and looked at Death Mage. Die! Countless blades that were formed from spiritual energy instantly aimed at Death Mage, and the blades that were formed from spiritual energy attacked towards Death Mage while emitting the aura of death. A shocking might shook the world and everyone couldn't help but gasp. Death Mage let out a strange laughter once again. GGG, Imperial Translation, let me show you what is called absolute comprehension. Death Mage slowly raised his hand. Damned alien, I won't accept your surrender. Du Zue shouted coldly. This damned alien dared to show off in front of him. Death Mage ignored Death Mage and placed his thumb and middle finger together. This scene made LV Liang and Yi Hong's jaws drop slightly. Holy shit. Even mages have learned his honor's unique way to act cool. Snap my fingers. LV Liang was dumbstruck. In actuality, I also want to act cool like this. This is too interesting. Yi Hong also had a look of envy on her face. She didn't have Death Mage's style and only knew how to use his fists to solve problems. Du Zue narrowed his eyes and looked puzzled. What was this alien trying to do? Death Mage lightly snapped his fingers, and the countless spiritual chi swords instantly stopped moving. This. The corner of Du Zue's mouth twitched and he even rubbed his eyes. How is this possible? Was it an illusion? However, this was not the end. All the spiritual energy blades turned around at this moment and pointed at sin expiation. GGG, Royal Translation. In absolute comprehension. I'm God. However, Du Zue could not understand Death Mage's language at all. He was stunned by the scene in front of him. Boom, boom, boom. Countless spiritual chi swords attacked towards Du Zue. Immediately, a dazzling white light burst out from the spiritual chi swords and soared straight into the sky. Chapter 621. If there were no other factors, it would be quite beautiful. Gradually, the darkness shrouded the earth again. Du Zue was lying on the ground, gasping for breath. There were many bloody wounds on his body, but he was not dead. From this, it could be seen how strong Death Mage was. Death Mage was also a bit absent-minded. He actually didn't die. Interesting. He threw out a black shackle and bound Du Zue, waiting to be dealt with. Damned outsiders. Why are you so strong? Du Zue was still unwilling to accept this reality. How could his ultimate move be used against him? This was unheard of. Death Mage took out his phone and typed a few words before showing it to Du Zue. It's not that I'm too strong, it's that you're too weak. Du Zue couldn't help but vomit out a mouthful of blood. I didn't expect that there would be such a terrifying existence in this world. If I had known that it would be like this, suddenly. Du Zue seemed to think of something. Heaven and Earth Pillar, I'm going to kill you. Only now did Du Zue realize that he had fallen into Heaven and Earth's trap. Bastard. It seemed that he already knew about the situation here and deliberately said that tonight. He wanted them to come here and court death. At this time, Qing Tiandi was eating instant noodles and watching If You Are the One when he sneezed. Yi Zichen muttered, it's already spring and it's still so cold, I have to wear more clothes. Shi Xiaotian versus Bai Xiaojun. Shi Xiaotian, who was standing on the sand dune, revealed a playful smile. Such a delicate woman was just like a weak animal. He could easily strangle her to death. Kneel down and kowtow to Brother Xiaotian, and I'll spare your life. Shi Xiaotian twisted his thick arms. With a height of 2 meters coupled with his physique, he looked like a small mountain in front of Bai Xiaojun. Because she was on the night shift, Bai Xiaojun wore a long down jacket. But now she took off the down jacket and wore sportswear inside. Her arrogant figure was immediately exposed to the air. This caused Shi Xiaotian to be slightly stunned, and then he said with a smile, What? Trying to seduce my brother Xiaotian? It's useless. I have no interest in you. Bai Xiaojun slowly raised her arm, pointed her finger at Shi Xiaotian, and then crooked her finger. This was blatant teasing. Shi Xiaotian sneered. He had never seen such an audacious woman before. He roared in anger. His body immediately emitted a golden light, and thick blue veins popped out of his skin. His muscles also began to swell. Looking at him now, Shi Xiaotian looked like he was made of stone. Every muscle on his body was so explosive, as if they were made of carbon fiber. His huge fists seemed like they could shatter anything in the world. Although such a muscular man was huge, he would definitely be welcomed by young ladies, especially those who liked muscular men. I really can't bear to shatter your body. But who told you to anger me? Shi Xiaotian roared. His right fist sparkled with a golden radiance, bringing with it a boiling hot aura as he punched towards the petite Bai Xiaojun. Bai Xiaojun was only 168 centimeters tall, but in front of Shi Xiaotian she was too small. His fist was as big as Bai Xiaojun's face. The violent astral energy blew Bai Xiaojun's beautiful hair into a mess. Her beautiful eyes were filled with the huge fist. Bai Xiaojun slowly stretched out her left arm. This action caused Shi Xiaotian to laugh wildly. You overestimate yourself. Go to hell. Be instantly killed by my strength. Ah. Boom. Under the fist, the yellow sand instantly flew into the air and spread outwards. A huge shockwave covered the sky and covered the earth. This was a confrontation of strength, there was no need to haggle over it. But Bai Xiaojun was developed by Lai Gu, her strength was also able to destroy the world, causing people to be speechless. Just like the current Shi Xiaotian, that crazed smile on his face had become stiff. Bai Xiaojun could be seen stretching out her slender index finger and tapping on the huge fist. If the camera zoomed in, one would discover that it was actually her fingernail that tapped on the huge fist. Shi Xiaotian muttered. He was completely unable to react to what was happening. The corner of Bai Xiaojun's mouth curled up slightly. My strength is not bad. To actually look down on me, brother Xiaotian? You have to pay the price for overestimating yourself. A golden light emerged from Shi Xiaotian's skin, and he was like a god that had descended to the mortal world. His stiff face became incomparably malevolent, and he clenched his fists tightly and raised them up high. You're going to pay a painful price. Go to hell. Shi Xiaotian's fists flourished with golden light, and that scorching aura reverberated in the air, causing people to be filled with fear. From Shi Xiaotian's point of view, if he were to punch down with his fists, he would definitely be able to smash this woman into a meat patty. However, how is a man who raised his fists up high going to protect the treasures on his body? Not only is Bai Xiaojun's strength great, her speed is also outstanding. Following Bai Xiaojun's light shout, her slender and beautiful legs swept onto Shi Xiaotian's crotch. Shi Xiaotian, who was preparing to smash down, had his eyeballs about to pop out. I never expected that this woman would actually play such a dirty trick. I can be considered to have gone through hundreds of battles. All of us have the rules of the underworld. Kicking someone's crotch is simply a child's play. Shi Xiaotian, who had an extraordinary aura just a moment ago, immediately held onto his crotch as if he was a cooked shrimp. You slut, you actually plotted against me. Shi Xiaotian couldn't help but shout out. Shameless to the extreme. You will definitely receive retribution. Bai Xiaojun said in a low voice, this is a move to guard against wolves. F***K. I am fighting with you. It's not like I want to sully you. What the hell are you guarding against wolves for? The pain in his crotch caused Shi Xiaotian to sweat profusely. Oh, is that so? I'm sorry, it was just a subconscious action. Bai Xiaojun's words almost caused Shi Xiaotian to vomit blood from anger. Before Shi Xiaotian could react, Bai Xiaojun's small fist directly smashed onto Shi Xiaotian's abdomen. The golden light on Shi Xiaotian's abdomen could be seen shattering into pieces. Shi Xiaotian wasn't sent flying. It wasn't that Bai Xiaojun's strength wasn't enough, rather Shi Xiaotian didn't want Shi Xiaotian to be sent flying. Sneak attack. Shi Xiaotian held onto his crotch with his left hand and held onto his abdomen with his right hand, then directly laid onto the pile of sand. These two blows nearly took Shi Xiaotian's life. After all, Bai Xiaojun's fists and kicks weren't for show, and it was already a miracle that Shi Xiaotian was still able to speak. I thought that we were going to start fighting. Shi Xiaotian, if you don't follow the rules of the underworld, I'm not going to fight with you anymore, stinky woman. Shameless. Before Shi Xiaotian could even see clearly, his face was slapped by Bai Xiaojun, and his entire body was sent flying. Bai Xiaojun's face was ice cold. In this world, other than his honor and my husband, no one else can even think of scolding me. Shi Xiaotian, who was sent flying, laid on the pile of sand, and as if he had been slapped silly, he blankly stared at the starry sky. Shi Xiaotian's appearance was a bit similar to Feng Tian, who was slapped to the point that he became autistic. Chapter 622. Isn't it good for me to be a chef and research on recipes, and I actually came to this damned voidless realm. I must have been possessed by greed and was actually deceived by God raising heaven and earth. Thinking up to here, Shi Xiaotian seemed to have realized something. I fell for God raising heaven and earth's trick again. Bastard. I'll die a horrible death. Bai Xiaojun slowly walked to Shi Xiaotian's side, then lowered her head and looked at Shi Xiaotian. What are you looking at? I'm going to, Before Shi Xiaotian finished speaking, Bai Xiaojun punched toward Shi Xiaotian's abdomen once again. A hole was punched out from the entire yellow sand. How terrifying. However, Shi Xiaotian is still not dead. He is truly resistant to beatings, no wonder he had the courage to come to Voidless Realm. Bai Xiaojun grabbed onto Shi Xiaotian's neck and began walking back. Shi Xiaotian was no longer the Xiaotian Ji from just now, he was more like a dead Ji. On the other side, Wuxia versus Jianghu. The two women were the kind of women that were one in a million. Even in this kind of weather, Wuxia's body was only wearing a black leather shirt and pants, but the tight-fitting clothes perfectly accentuated her curvaceous figure. She looked very cold and sexy. Jianghu, who was standing opposite of Wuxia, looked very arrogant. She was wearing a white evening gown and a white round hat, looking just like a noble lady. Beauty, are you interested in following me? Jianghu said with a light smile. the corner of her mouth slightly raised. She is also a rare beauty. Wuxia said coldly, not interested. Sigh, what a pity, I really can't bear to lay my hands on a beauty like you. That is if you can. Wuxia sneered. I haven't fought for a long time, my entire body is itching. Beauty, your tone isn't small, I won't be polite then. Jioling's expression gradually turned cold, and 2 daggers condensed in her hands. With just a look, one could tell that the daggers were not ordinary goods. I won't be polite either. Wuxia's cold look was even more serious than Zishan. Even when facing Lai Gu, Wuxia still had a straight face and rarely smiled. Perhaps it was because of this that Lai Gu liked Wuxia a lot. He liked that cold look of hers, it felt very comfortable and pleasurable. Jioling shouted, and her beautiful figure suddenly disappeared. In the blink of an eye, he appeared behind Wuxia and stabbed his dagger towards her neck. However, Jioling's eyes darkened. She immediately sheathed her saber and even abruptly pulled away. He looked at Wuxia in disbelief. Many things had happened in that instant. When Jioling appeared behind Wuxia, her heart was filled with joy. She would be able to kill this cold and elegant woman with a single strike. However, just as she was about to stab into her delicate neck, Jioling suddenly noticed that Wuxia was looking at her, and a sense of danger swept through her body. She didn't think too much about it and immediately distanced herself. You. Beads of sweat appeared on Jioling's forehead. Just from that moment, Jioling felt the gap between them. This woman could actually discover him. It could be seen that her speed was also very fast and she might even surpass him. When Xia slowly turned around and looked at Jioling, are you distancing yourself because you are afraid? I'm afraid of you? What a joke. Are you really not afraid? When Xia said this, she had already appeared behind Jioling and was even right next to her ear. Jioling's expression changed drastically. Even she didn't notice this ghostly speed. What was going on? How could this woman's speed be faster than mine? The dagger in Jioling's hand drew a beautiful arc in the air. The white round hat on her head was also sent flying by the force and fell onto the yellow sand. When Xia grabbed Jioling's wrist and said softly, I really can't bear to kill a woman like you. Jioling felt the force from her wrist and couldn't move at all. She immediately attacked with her left hand, but when Xia seemed to know what was going to happen and reached out to grab Jioling's wrist. Jioling's pretty face was filled with panic as her hands were held tightly by Wuxia. Ah! Jioling shouted and a terrifying spiritual energy burst out from her body. It was as if she wanted to use this method to break free from Wuxia's restraint. But was Wuxia that weak? She wasn't afraid of Jioling's spiritual pressure at all. Who are you? Jioling asked in a low voice. The pain in her wrist caused her to let go of the dagger and fall onto the yellow sand. Wuxia snorted coldly, Who am I? The person who serves the Supreme Sovereign. After saying that, a terrifying aura burst out from Wuxia's body. It was as if the entire air was trembling. Jioling was forced to spit out blood by this terrifying aura. Her beautiful face immediately withered and revealed her original appearance. Looking at Jioling's appearance, Wuxia said indifferently, So you're old and can't even compare to me. Hearing this, Jioling spat out another mouthful of blood. Her opponent was so powerful that she couldn't defend against it. She didn't even get to use many of her abilities before she was pinned down. But even if she did, it would be useless. This woman was too powerful. Just this aura alone was enough to make her spit out blood. How could such a person exist? What was wrong with this planet? Wuxia didn't waste any more time and punched Jioling's abdomen. This punch immediately scattered Jioling's spiritual energy. In layman's terms, this punch had crippled Jioling. At the same time, when Xia let go of Jioling, blood flowed from the corner of Jioling's mouth. Her withered face was filled with fear. She pointed at Wuxia and shouted, You woman! How vicious! Vicious? You should think that I'm kind and didn't want your life. Wuxia said coldly. There was not a trace of color in her eyes. After pausing for a moment, Wuxia said again, Of course I don't know if you'll be able to live or not, because you'll have to wait for my punishment later. Wait for my punishment? Jioling thought about the Overlord Paramount that Wuxia mentioned just now. These people are actually the subordinates of the Overlord Paramount. What kind of existence is the Overlord Paramount? Why didn't heaven and earth tell me about this? Or did heaven and earth know about this and did it on purpose? Jioling finally realized that she was tricked by heaven and earth again and became his cannon fodder. This is what vicious means. When Xia grabbed Jioling's neck and walked back, You're still too weak, you didn't allow me to use my full strength. This woman is actually so pretentious. Jioling's lungs were about to explode from anger, but she was helpless and could only let Wuxia grab her. Damn you, heaven and earth. Even if I die, I'll wait for you at the bridge of helplessness. On the other side it was Zishan versus Chuing. Zishan rotated her neck and twisted her waist. She even did some stretching exercises and said with a light smile, I'm just doing a warm-up exercise. You can also do it, but be careful not to get cramps. Chapter 623. No, you can do it, Chuing said softly as she watched the woman in front of her doing chest exercises. LV Liang, who was far away, said in a low voice, Little brother, your wife is too. I have to talk about it in the future. I simply can't bear to look straight at her. The corner of Yihang's mouth twitched slightly. His wife was actually doing chest expansion exercises in front of another man. Those who knew about it were warming up, but those who did not know would think that it was a crazy hint. I must talk to her tonight. Too unruly. This was too outrageous. LV Liang even reminded Yi Hua in a low voice, Don't forget Big Brother's experience, it is a painful memory. Yihang looked at his wife who was far away. That is absolute trust in Zishan. How could Zishan possibly do such a thing? Big Brother is trying to scare me again. Zishan sure knows how to have fun. The person at the side laughed lightly. Husky, who was squatting at the side, was listless. I also want human rights. Don't ignore my existence just because I'm a dog. Finally, Zishan did a set of broadcast calisthenics. Alright, let's begin. Chuing coughed a little and with a soft shout, a long blade appeared in her right hand. As for Zishan, she condensed out a colorful long sword, which was emitting a unique spiritual energy. Not bad. You are a powerful character. Where are you from? Chuing asked curiously. Oh, you know about deities? Zishan was a bit surprised. This person actually knows about the existence of deities. Chuing chuckled. Of course, I'm also a god. My heaven's sanctum? Where are you from? The two of them started chatting as if they were from the same hometown. LV Liang poked her underling. See, they're already chatting. Be careful. Originally, Yihang had a confident look on her face, but when she saw that her wife was actually chatting with that person, they seemed to be quite happy, as if they were friends who had not seen each other for a long time. In an instant they were in a bad mood and expressed their jealousy. Hearing Zishan's answer, Chuing smiled and said, Tianfu, it is a big city, I am from Linwei City. Linwei? It's just a small place. It can't be compared to heaven's sanctum. Chuing smiled. Zishan replied with an, oh, so it's a small place. How long have you been here? It's been a long time. I don't even remember. What about you? Chuing asked again. Me? I just came last year. Chuing nodded. I've heard that the Heaven Sanctum's capital is very grand. I've always wanted to go there, but I've never had the chance. I'm afraid that there won't be another chance in the future, that Imperial City is already gone. Zishan smiled tenderly. This caused Yihang, who was far away, to immediately feel bad. His wife is even smiling. Did something happen in the Imperial capital? Chuing asked curiously. Yes, they're all dead. It's very tragic. Chuing immediately frowned, her eyes filled with doubt. How could such a powerful place like the Imperial capital be destroyed? Yihang couldn't stand it anymore. She ran to her wife and whispered, What are you doing? Husband, this is someone from my hometown. We chatted for a bit longer. This is my husband. Zishan actually started introducing her husband. Yihang almost fainted. Zishan wasn't like this in the past. Chuing nodded at Yihang as if greeting her. The latter nodded helplessly. We're a polite party. We don't kill people randomly. That's enough, husband, you should quickly go over, don't disturb my fight. Zishan hurriedly pushed Yihang away. Really, all you know is how to be jealous. Then stop chatting. I know. Looking at her husband leaving, Zishan smiled. My husband likes to be jealous. He would get jealous after seeing me chatting with other men for a bit. He looks like you found the right person. That's right, I'm quite lucky. Seeing how Yihang kept turning his head back every few steps, Zishan even blew a kiss to Yihang, telling him not to worry. Chu Ying's expression gradually darkened, then said faintly, Let's begin. Zishan lightly sighed, then said, You guys should just give up resisting because there is no chance of winning. What? Chuing asked in a low voice. Do you know who destroyed the Imperial capital? Chuing remained silent. It's us and of course the great Overlord Transcendent. When speaking about the Overlord Transcendent, Zishan's gaze revealed a burning admiration. She was simply like a completely different person compared to before. You guys destroyed the imperial capital. Chuing found it hard to believe. There are as many experts in the imperial capital as there are clouds. How could the imperial capital be destroyed? That's right, if you surrender you might still be able to have your corpse intact. Zishan continued to persuade. We're all from the same hometown, why is there a need to fight like that? The blade in Chu Ying's hand emitted out a surge of evil aura. None of my Linwei city's men surrender. Zishan understood and didn't continue to persuade. All right. Take care. Chu Ying didn't say anything, the blade in her hand immediately unsheathed, and a berserk blade aura gushed out, instantly lighting up the entire sky, as if it was going to connect the heaven and earth. Chu Ying's expression darkened, she slightly lowered her head, and a sharp sword tip could be seen appearing on her chest, and on that resplendent light, there was even her own blood. Just surrender, you are not my opponent. Zishan said in a low voice. I feel that this person is still alright, so I don't want to be too ruthless. Chu Ying's expression tensed up, her heart was surging violently. I don't even know when this woman appeared behind me, and I only felt a chill on my chest. When did such a powerful person appear in Heaven's mansion? Could it be that what she said was true? Was the imperial capital really destroyed by them? On the other hand, Yi Hong, who was far away, was very happy. Big brother, did you see that? My wife is still very awesome. LV Liang didn't deny it. She is indeed awesome. Zishan, who was still standing at the side, snorted. Men hee hee. The green and red brothers had stupefied expressions on their faces. What's wrong with this sister-in-law? For her to suddenly say such a thing, this is so strange. On the field, Chu Ying didn't pay any attention to the long sword on her chest, and the blade in her hand once again slashed towards Zishan. The blade was incomparably ferocious, and even if it meant that Zishan's wound would be pulled open, she didn't hesitate at all. Looking at the empty ground in front of her and the cold sword intent on her neck, Chu Ying's expression became gloomy. Move again. I will kill you. Zishan changed her previous imposing manner and said with killing intent. The sword intent emitted out from the long sword in Zishan's hand had already sliced open Chu Ying's skin, and a stream of blood flowed out from her neck. Just as Chu Ying was about to make her move again, she suddenly saw a black-cloaked figure walking towards the bonfire, and behind the black-cloaked figure was actually Du Zue. Following closely behind the black-cloaked figure was Bai Xiaozhen. Bai Xiaozhen was actually grabbing onto Shi Xiaotian's neck and dragging him all the way over, and Shi Xiaotian was actually like a dead fish, completely not showing any reaction. There was also a woman who came over, and she actually directly threw the 9 spirits over. I can't even sense the 9 spirits' spiritual energy. Your companion is already in such a state, are you still going to resist? Zishan asked faintly. Chapter 624. Let's go. Zishan said indifferently. Chu Ying seemed to have lost her soul as she walked towards the bonfire. Zishan also sheathed her sword. However, she did not feel satisfied at all. Her opponent was simply too weak. All 4 of them were taken down and stood next to the bonfire. Although they were all injured, none of them were dead. She continued to stare at the 4 intruders and shouted coldly, "Kneel!" A ferocious aura burst forth from her delicate body, and a huge spiritual pressure pressed down on their backs like a mountain. Finally, they could not bear it any longer and knelt down. Kill me if you want, but don't insult us. Du Zue shouted angrily. As Lai Gu's first wife, Yu's seniority here was also considered to be high, thus, Yu was the one to speak for the time being. Insult? You guys are thinking too much. This isn't an insult, it's a pity. He still hinted to LV Tao to inform Wei Chang to come over. He couldn't go above his rank to report this matter. Who the hell are you people? How can Voidless Realm have you too? This is impossible. Jiuling was still unable to think through this problem. Voidless Realm is indeed powerful, but it is definitely not powerful to such an extent. You have a lot of questions, but as losers, you should act like losers. Just lower your heads and keep quiet. Bow my head to you? Don't even think about it. Du Zue laughed wildly, showing no sign of fear. Bai Xiaozhen's beautiful eyes narrowed and she slapped the void. This sound was very loud and it was enough to send Du Zue's teeth flying. Motherf asterisk her. I will kill you even if I become a ghost. Du Zue spat out a mouthful of blood and roared at Bai Xiaozhen. If possible, Bai Xiaozhen wanted to kill this person. He was too disgusting. However, his honor didn't give me any orders, so I temporarily kept it. LV Shu also reported the situation to Wei Chang. At this time, Wei Chang was hugging Tang Wei and sleeping soundly. After hearing the report, he immediately woke up. Someone really dared to come. After putting on his pajamas, Wei Chang came over immediately. A black whirlpool appeared beside the bonfire, and when the 4 people who were kneeling down saw it, their gazes were filled with fright. The aura that was being emitted out from the whirlpool. It was too terrifying. However, when she saw a man who was wearing pajamas walking out, the corner of her mouth slightly twitched. This is different from what I thought it would be, Uncle Wei. Everyone present called out respectfully. Even Yun Lang lowered his head. Needless to say, the 4 people kneeling on the ground were amazed. These people were already very scary, but they were actually so respectful to a man in pajamas. This was a little scary. Who was this man in pajamas? What's going on? Wei Chang frowned. Being woken up from his sleep was definitely not a good feeling. Death Mage said respectfully, Master, those people were preparing to launch a sneak attack on Voidless Realm tonight, and we intercepted them. Wei Chang turned his head and looked at the 4 people kneeling on the ground. His eyes were so deep that no one dared to look at them. The 4 people didn't even dare to raise their heads. No wonder losers have to lower their heads because they don't even have the courage to raise their heads. Who are you people? Wei Chang asked in a low voice. Jiaoling didn't have much time to think and hurriedly explained, It's a misunderstanding, we were all deceived by someone. Oh, heaven and earth. He is the boss behind that Justice and Order alliance, he has always wanted to mess with Voidless Realm. Du Zue hurriedly explained. The man in pajamas in front of him didn't even have any thoughts of resisting. Heaven and earth. Wei Chang muttered. Originally, I didn't plan to inform His Honor, but since it was related to heaven and earth, I still have to ask for His Honor's opinion. Right now, Yi Hua wasn't hugging onto his wife to sleep. Instead, he was hugging onto his daughter and son. The 2 little fellows were nestled within their father's embrace and were sleeping very sweetly. Yi Hua, who was sleeping, was woken up by Wei Chang. Wei Chang, if you don't give me an explanation, watch how I am going to teach you a lesson. Yi Hua snorted. This is too outrageous. How many times have I told you not to contact me after 10 p.m., unless something big happened? Wei Chang's expression became respectful. Even though Yi Hua wasn't in front of him, Wei Chang still bowed down. When the others saw Wei Chang's expression, they definitely knew that His Honor was angry, and they bowed down as well. This action of Wei Chang's caused the 4 people to be stupefied. Just who are these people? Why did the scary pajama man become so terrified as if he is afraid of something? Your Honor, there are ambushers outside. Wei Chang explained. However, this explanation made Yi Hua not very satisfied. Just kill them. Is there a need to report such a small matter? But they said that they were deceived by heaven and earth. Speaking of heaven and earth, Yi Hua's gaze became serious. After ending the conversation with His Honor, Wei Chang let out a breath of relief. I knew that His Honor had already gone to rest. It's all because of these 4 idiots. Is Voidless Realm a place that you all should come to? 8 people and 1 dog stood respectfully beside the bonfire. This kind of action made the 4 people who were kneeling down feel very heavy. They seemed to be waiting for someone to come out. Just who is it? The 4 people were unable to figure out who it was, but what they were sure of was that it was definitely an even more terrifying existence. Or perhaps, it was that Supreme Overlord. Very quickly Yi Hua's figure appeared. He was wearing a military coat and he looked very, very sloppy. At the very least, that was what the 4 people who were kneeling down thought. Subordinates? We pay our respects to your honor. The 8 people's shouts were very intimidating in this quiet night, and it seemed as if their shouts had broken through the clouds. Wu Erha also kneeled down. Yi Hua waved his hand and everyone stood up respectfully. Du Zue's mind was completely blank. This is the Supreme Overlord. I originally thought that it was that pajamas guy. I didn't expect that it would be that military coat guy. Jiaoling looked at Wei Chang. This man is already very powerful. I didn't expect that there would be someone even more powerful. In Chu Ying's heart, those people just now were already extremely terrifying, and that pajamas guy was even more terrifying. But I didn't expect that there would be another one. How am I supposed to live? Furthermore, these people are so respectful and even fearful towards the military coat guy. My God. Just what kind of person did I provoke? Sure, Xiaotian remained silent throughout the entire process. As a big guy to be beaten up by a woman, it's so shameful. Even speaking feels like it's shameful. Just them? Yi Hua muttered. Wei Chang stood respectfully behind Yi Hua. "That's right, Your Honor." Yihua pointed at Chuing and said faintly, "I am asking you, did God Atlas let you all come here?" Chuing nodded her head, then said gravely, "That's right, we were all tricked by God Atlas, that's why we came here." Yihua looked towards Jiuling and asked, "What is the relationship between you all and God Atlas?" How could Jiuling dare to hide anything from Yihua? Just hearing this man's question, I feel as if my heart is going to explode. Chapter 625. Yihua then pointed at Du Zue, "Why didn't Qing Tian and Tian Di come with you?" Du Zue immediately said, "Your Honor, although Qing Tian Di is with us, he is very cunning. We have suffered a lot of losses in the past. This time he even used us as cannon fodder to test you. Are you trying to say that this God raising heaven and earth is your boss?" Yihua asked indifferently. This God raising heaven and earth's brain is indeed not bad, and he is very good at reading people's minds. Jiuling lowered his head and said, "Your Honor, this Qing Tian was originally one of us. We really didn't mean it. Please spare our lives. What is the purpose of you all raiding Voidless Realm at night?" Yihua walked to the side of the bonfire and sat down. Stretching out both of his hands, Yihua warmed himself up and stared at the golden-colored flames. The four of them remained silent for a moment, and then Chuing said gravely, "Voidless Realm is a small world, we want to obtain it." Chuing thought that his honor would be shocked by what she said, but who would have thought that after hearing what she said, his honor did not have any reaction at all. The dog actually ran to the side to pee. How could you pee in such a serious situation? Can you have a bit of civility? So that's why you're here. What a pity. Yihua stood up and tightened the military coat that he was wearing. The night in this desert is indeed a bit cold. The four didn't understand what Yihua meant and were very puzzled. "Just kill them," Yihua said faintly. There was basically no reason for him to kill them. "Yes." Wei Chang replied respectfully without a trace of pity. If his honor wants someone to die at midnight, then his honor will definitely not let them live until midnight. The four people kneeling on the ground couldn't believe it. They were actually going to kill him. And in such a pretentious manner. Wasn't he afraid of being struck by lightning? Just as Wei Chang was about to make his move, Chuing suddenly burst into laughter. Shi Xiaotian, who was silent on the side, suddenly came back to his senses. Even Du Zue and Jiuling could feel it. "Now that things have come to this, I can only fight." Hearing Chu Ying's words, Yihua, who was originally going to leave, suddenly turned around and asked faintly, "Let's take a gamble and turn a bicycle into a motorcycle." "You forced us to do this." Just as Chu Ying finished speaking, her body emitted a faint light. Not only Chu Ying but also Jiuling, Du Zue and Shi Xiaotian. Yihua took out a packet of Furong Wang from the pocket of his military uniform, then took out a cigarette and lit it up. "There are a lot of people who wanted to fight against me, and in the end all of them went to hell to gamble." Chu Ying sneered, "It's not certain who will go to hell." The four of them quickly formed hand seals, and a terrifying aura suddenly emanated from each of them. Even the 9 spirits whose spiritual qi had been scattered were the same. Just as Wei Chang was about to kill the four of them, Yihua stopped Wei Chang. "Let's see what they want to do." Spirit concentration transformation. The four of them shouted and a monstrous cyclone immediately swept across the area. A tornado descended from the sky and enveloped the four of them. Yihua laughed, "Interesting, using your life as the price to strengthen your strength. Your Honor, allow subordinate to go out and fight against the enemy." Zishan cupped her hands and shouted out, "This is the opponent that I want." Yihua said indifferently, "I haven't played for a long time, you all can back off." "Your Honor," Lai Gu's 3 wives shouted out sweetly. "Why is it that whenever His Honor meets someone who is slightly more powerful, His Honor would snatch them away, leaving us, who are His subordinates, with no place to display our abilities?" Wei Chang's brows wrinkled, "Nonsense. You all dare to disobey His Honor's order." The 4 women hurriedly knelt down and admitted their wrongs. "All right, I will forget about it this time. I hope that there won't be a next time," Yihua said in a low voice. As the saying goes, subordinates should act like subordinates. A party can be played around, but a proper business must be serious. "Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor is blessed by the heavens." Yihua didn't say anything. "Don't you all have any new vocabulary? You all only say these few phrases every day. I'm already sick of hearing them." Sensing the aura within the tornado, Yihua was indeed a bit surprised. The tornado seems to have already reached the strength of an overlord. This spirit concentration transformation is a good thing, but the price to pay for it is too heavy. Yihua can feel that their life force is slipping away. Why bother? Wouldn't it be better to just leave quickly? After the tornado disappeared, Yihua was still very satisfied with their current state. Her body was huge, reaching a height of 3 meters. Her head was Chu Ying's, her shoulders were Du Zue and Shi Xiaotian's, and her chest was Jiu Ling. Yihua guessed that the crotch position should be the one that holds up the heavens. No wonder I would be able to trick you all like this, arranging a crotch position for you all. It is already very nice of me to not stab you all in the back. Power? Is this power? Ha 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 ha. Du Zue was able to feel the surging power, as if he is able to shatter this entire planet with a single punch. This feeling is truly incomparably powerful. Jiu Ling didn't expect that this attack would be so powerful, and her confidence immediately returned to her body. Jiu Ling let out an eerie laugh. Even if I die, I will still drag you all down with me. Even if I die, I will still drag you all down with me. Chu Ying took a deep breath. No matter how powerful you are, you will still die in this desert. Yihua had heard too many of such words. This is the confidence that power gives, and they think that they are able to crush their opponent. However, how would they know that I, the Supreme Overlord, am the source of power? Go and die. Tremble under my power. Shi Xiaotian shouted out, and his enormous body immediately shone with a golden light. Yihua could feel that his power was once again rising crazily. The entire desert was giving off an aftershock, and the sky seemed to have sensed this power as well, causing the sky to start rumbling. Yihua slightly raised his right hand and said faintly, "All power has to kneel for me." Following that, the sound of thumb and middle finger tapping on each other rang out. The group of 4 who were arrogant just a moment ago went into a daze. It was as if their bodies had been frozen, and even the expression on their faces was the same. A light breeze blew over, and Shi Xiaotian's enormous body instantly fell onto the ground like a pile of sand, merging together with the yellow sand on the ground. Seeing that his honor had displayed his might, everyone hurriedly kneeled down and shouted out, "His honor's power is boundless. Sigh, it is so lonely to be too powerful. I, the Supreme Overlord, am going to wash my hands of this world." After finished speaking, Yihua disappeared from the bonfire. Hearing his honor's lonely tone as well as his honor's back view, everyone couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. As expected of our leader, this way of acting cool is so scary. His honor's snap of his fingers is so cool. Yihua was also feeling very helpless. Right now, I have fallen to acting cool in front of my subordinates and I don't even have an audience anymore. If this continues on, it will be meaningless. After returning to the room, Yihua discovered that the 2 little fellows were sitting on the bed. "Daddy, Daddy," Yihua hugged onto the 2 children. "Why are you both awake?" Big sister said that Daddy went to look for Mommy, and that Daddy isn't going to sleep with Yener anymore. Yi Yen, this little fellow, is becoming more and more clingy to his father, and Yi Yen is constantly following behind his father. Donghuang Baiji is also the same, her daughter is also following behind her father, and Donghuang Baiji doesn't even care about her, the mother. Chapter 626. She even wanted to occupy her husband's body when he was sleeping at night, and if he didn't let her, she would cry and throw a tantrum. In Harbor City, God raising heaven and earth still hadn't slept yet. While watching the television, he muttered, "You guys can go and die." Yihua's guess was right, God raising heaven and earth was still brooding over the matter of his crotch. As expected of a narrow-minded man. This is God raising heaven and earth's true purpose, to kill others with a borrowed knife. In this competition, Yihua seemed to have fallen behind once again. Yihua knew about this and his interest was piqued. This God raising heaven and earth's brain is indeed not bad interesting. Meanwhile, Yihua was also thinking about how to get back at God raising heaven and earth, and how to make God raising heaven and earth disheartened. Directly show my strength in front of God raising heaven and earth? Too low. This isn't my style at all. Right now, I am playing with my brain. In the blink of an eye, another month passed. The voices of exterminating voidless realms seemed to have lessened by a lot, because there was no way to exterminate voidless realm, and they couldn't even find the place to exterminate voidless realm. Furthermore, no one dared to go to the desert, it was too dangerous and people could die at any moment. Facing this kind of helplessness, everyone was helpless. However, another matter diverted everyone's attention, and that was the sudden appearance of a female demon who specialized in killing men. This caused the men to not dare to go out anymore. Furthermore, the situation was becoming more and more intense, and the influence of the situation was also becoming bigger and bigger. As the Peace Association and Justice Alliance, they definitely had to take action to deal with this woman. However, the people that were sent out basically never returned. The two organizations were having a headache. The female demon was simply too strong. This kind of action angered Li Hun even more, to the point where he started killing every man he saw on the streets. It was fine if a man walked alone, but as long as there was a woman beside him, he would be killed without saying anything. Li Hun was simply ferocious to the extreme. At this time, the single men sighed in admiration. It is so good to be single. Why do I have to look for a girlfriend? Look at those men who have girlfriends, all of them died, how pitiful. Yi Hua naturally knew about this kind of thing and he completely let it go. However, as the Empress of Voidless Realm, she had the responsibility to get rid of these people. How could Yi Hua possibly allow Donghuang Baiji to act recklessly? This demoness was a bargaining chip that Yi Hua could use to teach heaven and earth a lesson. It would have been fine if Donghuang Baiji didn't go and help heaven and earth, but Donghuang Baiji still went and captured heaven and earth. However, this also caused Donghuang Baiji to be a bit angry, and she had been ignoring Yi Hua for the past 3 days. Yi Hua couldn't be bothered to go and coax Yi Hua. If I were to go and coax Yi Hua from now on, wait for me to think clearly about this problem. Yi Hua, look, Baiji hasn't eaten for an entire day, go and coax her. Qingye said tenderly while sitting in Yi Hua's embrace. Yi Hua snorted coldly, then lightly caressed Qingye's beautiful hair and said faintly, since she is so disobedient, why are you coaxing her? Baiji is pregnant and her belly is big. Even if you don't care about the big one, you have to care about the little one. Besides, pregnant women are a little emotional. You have to understand. That's right. Qingye persuaded Yi Hua attentively. I reckon that in the past, I would never have thought that I would have to ask my man to coax another woman. After thinking about it, Yi Hua felt that what Qingye said was right. No matter what, both of them are carrying my bloodline, it is normal for my temper to be a bit bad. Looking at her husband's expression, Qingye knew what to do. She stood up and took out a bowl of porridge. Here, properly coax him. Speaking up for others. Yi Hua said petulantly. Qingye laughed tenderly, then pinched onto her husband's cheek. Isn't it all for the sake of your harem? Can 2 still be counted as a harem? If you have the capability, then go and find 7 or 8 more for me. Only then can that be called a harem. Yi Hua. Qingye placed her hands on her waist and looked like she was about to get angry. Yi Hua snorted lightly. Would I, the Supreme Overlord, bother with a woman? Go and coax my wife. This is the last time I will coax my wife. Next time, don't even think about letting me coax you. I'm also a man with dignity. Walking into the Empress's bedroom, Yi Hua saw that the Empress was currently sitting on the chair and daydreaming. What a foolish woman, she is definitely thinking about me. Cough. Yi Hua coughed lightly, reminding Donghuang Baiji that I, the Supreme Overlord, have arrived. Humph, Donghuang Baiji snorted and completely ignored Yi Hua. Yo, this little temper is quite big. Do you believe that I, the Supreme Overlord, am going to smash the porridge? Yi Hua placed the porridge that was in his hand beside the Empress, then said gravely, drink it. Donghuang Baiji immediately turned her head around and refused to look at Yi Hua. Is this the attitude you use to coax your wife? Looking at his wife's attitude, Yi Hua seemed to have made up his mind. Yi Hua lightly held onto Donghuang Baiji's delicate hand. The latter immediately prepared to counterattack, but when she saw Yi Hua's expression, her face was filled with astonishment. Right now, Yi Hua's expression was one that no one had seen before. Pouting mouth. That pitiful expression. Donghuang Baiji, who was looking at Yi Hua, felt goosebumps all over her body. Especially when she saw what Yi Hua said next. Wife, don't be angry. While speaking, Yi Hua was even shaking Donghuang Baiji's hand. Do you know who Yi Hua learned this from? He learned this from his son. Yi Yan often begged his mother to not be angry like this. To be honest, Donghuang Baiji was shocked by Yi Hua. Furthermore, Yi Hua's expression is the kind that is crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. Yi Hua, if there is something to say, we can talk it out. It is better for you to recover first. Donghuang Baiji hurriedly said. Right now, Yi Hua seemed to have changed into another person, and I still like that ice-cold Yi Hua. In order to coax his wife, Yi Hua became shameless for once. His expression became serious. Quickly drink it. Don't show that expression of yours just now then, I'm scared of you. Donghuang Baiji hurriedly picked up the porridge that was at the side. What's wrong with my expression? Thinking back to Yi Hua's expression just now, Donghuang Baiji immediately spurted out the porridge in her mouth onto her husband's clothes. I'm sorry, I couldn't hold it in anymore. Donghuang Baiji laughed out loud. If only I had taken a picture of my husband's expression just now. If I had nothing to do, I would take it out to take a look. Yi Hua snorted coldly and sat on the chair at the side. You don't have to worry about this matter, I have my own plans. Yi Hua said attentively. Dong Huang Baiji let out a light sigh, then placed the porridge down and slightly lowered her head. You should learn from Qinya, don't take everything on yourself. There are some things that you can't control. Husband, am I very useless? Dong Huang Baiji said in a low voice. Dong Huang Baiji felt that she wasn't very competent as an empress. Yi Hua pulled Dong Huang Baiji into his embrace, then lightly stroked onto Dong Huang Baiji's slightly bulging belly. How could my empress be useless? You have already given birth to my second child. Go to hell, are feelings meant for me to give birth to a child for you? Dong Huang Baiji was not willing to give in and began acting coquettishly in her husband's embrace. From the looks of it, Yi Hua's acting coquettishly was still effective. Of course not, you still have to serve me. But, I don't want to be a flower vase. Chapter 627. Yi Hua, do you still have a lot of enemies? Dong Huang Baiji asked curiously. In the past she had heard Yi Hua mention a few enemies, but this time, Yi Hua said it in front of her. Yi Hua patted onto Dong Huang Baiji's face. All right, I will tell you too when the time comes. Yi Hua was thinking, if I were to reveal my true form in front of Qinya and Dong Huang Baiji, what kind of expression would they have? I reckon that they would directly faint from fright. Husband, tell me. Dong Huang Baiji immediately began acting coquettishly, hooking her curiosity out. To actually not tell me anymore, Yi Hua is truly becoming more and more naughty. Yi Hua pinched onto the empress's chin and said with a smile, when the two of you serve me together, I will tell you too. Ah, pervert, I'm going to ignore you. Dong Huang Baiji snorted, then left her husband's embrace and went to deal with Voidless Realms matters. Yi Hua did not chase after her. Today's mission to coax his wife has ended. I finally solved the problem of the Empress. After walking out of the Empress's bedroom, Yi Hua stopped his footsteps and looked at his sister-in-law's bedroom. Yi Hua decided to go in and take a look at Yutong. Recently, this sister-in-law seems to be very depressed and listless. Right after walking into the bedroom, Yi Hua saw Qin Yutong, who was in the garden. Qin Yutong was wearing a green long skirt and holding onto her small but while staring at Voidless Realms sky. That exquisite chin, spotlessly white skin, and that sexy jade neck, she is simply tempting Yi Hua's nerves. Facing this sister-in-law that hasn't been developed yet, Yi Hua chose to avoid meeting her, in case he couldn't control himself and did her. If that were to happen, Qinya would definitely fight it out with him. However, this Yutong is truly becoming more and more beautiful, as if she is waiting for a man to develop her. Qin Yutong naturally knew that brother-in-law came and thus she put on this pose. Wouldn't brother-in-law be infatuated with her? Right now, every time he sees me he would leave as if he is a flower. This is too vexing. In the past you would often spank other people's butt, but now you don't even do it. What kind of brother-in-law are you? You have already spanked your sister-in-law's butt and now you want to just pat your butt and leave? Seeing that Yi Hua still did not have any reaction, Qin Yutong turned her head around and looked towards Yi Hua, then revealed out a smile, and her pair of beautiful eyes curved into crescent moons. Brother-in-law, right now, whenever Yi Hua looked at Qin Yutong's face, he would have an impulse. Recently, I am not allowed to touch both of my wives and I am truly sullen. If I were to really do anything to my sister-in-law, then the blame will be on the two of them. Yutong, it's so fun. After finished speaking, Yi Hua prepared to turn around and leave. Qin Yutong pouted her small mouth. What does brother-in-law mean by this? Is he playing hard to get? Alright, brother-in-law, you've succeeded. Qin Yutong could be seen disappearing from her original spot, and in an instant she blocked Yi Hua's path and stared fixedly at Yi Hua's eyes. To be honest, Yi Hua was a bit lacking in confidence. Back then, I said that I was going to do something to my sister-in-law, but in the end, I was left to the cold until now, as if I was banished to the cold palace. Quickly go and play, don't stop me. Yi Hua's gaze focused, seemingly wanting to scare his sister-in-law away. Qin Yutong spread open both of her arms. Brother-in-law, if you leave today, I will tell big sister that you spanked my butt. Qin Yutong. How dare you? I, the Supreme Overlord, was actually threatened by my sister-in-law. How can I do that? In the entire world, who dares to threaten me? Even my own wife doesn't dare to. I'm just courageous, what do you want to do? Qin Yutong stiffened up. Move aside. Yi Hua shouted out lightly. Qin Yutong transformed into a gust of fragrant wind and immediately pounced into Yi Hua's embrace, giving out her first kiss. Yi Hua was a bit stupefied, this sister-in-law is not acting according to the norm. To actually forcefully kiss me, outstanding men are like this, there's no helping it. After a long while, the two of them separated. Yihua put on a cold look and said in a deep voice, "Qing Yutong, do you know what you are doing?" "Humph, I know that, brother-in-law, you are pushing me back." Yihua. "So awkward, my temper is indeed a bit heavy recently." Looking at brother-in-law's awkward look, Qing Yutong asked sneakily, "Brother-in-law, is sister-in-law's first kiss sweet?" "I still have a lot of first kisses, all of them belong to brother-in-law." "This is simply a crazy hint. This sister-in-law is becoming more and more mischievous." "Alright, don't let your big sister see it." Yihua's tone eased up a bit, but in his heart he felt that it was very exciting. No wonder so many men want to have a clandestine love affair, so it is this kind of feeling, not bad. Qing Yutong seemed to know what brother-in-law was thinking. "Brother-in-law, do you feel that it is very exciting?" "Exciting your head." Yihua stretched out his hand and smacked onto Qing Yutong's butt. "Oh, brother-in-law, why did you smack my butt again, and it is so heavy too?" "Not being honest." Qing Yutong didn't care so much, she just liked her brother-in-law. She immediately held onto Yihua's neck and kissed onto his butt. Yihua didn't seem to resist, and he even started to stroke onto Qing Yutong's butt. Qing Yutong, this girl who had never been touched by Yihua before, immediately felt like she didn't want to be touched anymore. Following that, her body slightly trembled, and the entire world seemed to have become boring. "Brother-in-law, you are so bad, F***K, this is simply, brother-in-law and sister-in-law have a clandestine love affair series, are you satisfied now? Hurry up and go back." Yihua shook his head, "This sister-in-law sure is exciting. Brother-in-law is so annoying, I'm going to go back and change my pants." After finished speaking, Qing Yutong ran back into the house. Yihua let out a breath, then thought to himself, "Qingya, it was your little sister who seduced me, I only cooperated slightly with her, I won't take the blame for this." Right after walking out of the door, Yihua saw Qingya walking over. Instinctively, he wanted to turn around as if he had done something guilty. However, when Yihua thought about it, how could I be afraid of my wife? I am thinking too much. "Yihua, what are you doing?" Qingya walked over and asked curiously. "I was chatting with Yutong just now." Yihua said faintly with a look of, "I am a gentleman" on his face. "Clandestine love affair is something that I, the Supreme Overlord, disdains." Qingya silently nodded her head. "As the brother-in-law, you should advise Yutong to not set her sights so high. After all, she will be 30 years old in a few more years." "That's right, I also said it just now, Yutong doesn't listen to me." Yihua silently nodded his head. "Perhaps, Qingya, you don't know how thirsty Yutong is." Qingya let out a light sigh. "If it really doesn't work, I just want Yutong to marry you, that way I can be at ease." This Qingya actually tricked me. Do you think that I am a fool?" "Qingya, what are you saying? Pay attention to your words." Yihua shouted out. "To actually come up with such an idea, to destroy the interpersonal relationship, this is challenging the bottom line of morality." Qingya pouted her mouth, then said solemnly, "I am serious. Since you don't agree to it, then forget it." Looking at Qingya's attitude, Yihua didn't seem to be tricking me. Could it be that Qingya is really planning to marry my little sister to me as well? As expected of my wife. I have to praise her for this. Chapter 628. Yihua nodded his head, then said, "Actually, this idea of yours is not bad. After all, we are family." Right after Yihua finished speaking, he felt two unkind gazes. Damn it, Qingya was indeed tricking me. I actually naively believed it. I am still too honest. "You want to hide this little trick of yours from me? Do you think that I don't know? I just probed you a bit and I found out." Yihua hurriedly explained. "Being henpecked doesn't exist, I am just maintaining the harmony of the family." Qingya snorted, then walked into her little sister's bedroom. Yihua let out a sigh of relief. This Qingya is becoming more and more mischievous. Speaking of which, that fellow Lulu has two identical twins. As a leader, I can't fall behind. Although Qingya and Qing Yutong aren't twins, the expression between their brows is still very similar. If they can be together with the addition of the Empress, the scene would definitely be very exciting. I seem to have a new target. However, this is a long-term plan. I should first deal with the current matter. This time, I have to teach Qing Tian a lesson. After gathering his subordinates, Yihua decided to have a small meeting. The location was naturally the lounge of Leisure Bar. I want to go to the toilet, but I can't stand there anymore. Furthermore, there are more ladies right now. It would be very inconvenient for me to go to the men's toilet for the meeting. Subordinate pays respect to your honor. All of the subordinates shouted out respectfully. Yi Hua nodded his head. I feel rather comfortable hearing such words. Recently, there is a demonist that is stirring up trouble outside. Yi Hua sat on the bar counter and said faintly while smoking a cigarette. Lai Gu immediately stood out, then cupped his hands and said, Your Honor, subordinate is willing to get rid of the evil for the people. Who told you that I am going to get rid of the evil? Yi Hua glared at Lai Gu. I haven't even finished speaking and you already ran out. Lai Gu immediately retreated a bit awkwardly. Originally, I wanted to show off in front of His Honor, but I didn't expect that I would be scolded by His Honor instead. Yi Hua took a puff of the cigarette and said gravely, This demoness is indeed a bit strong, but she won't be able to defend against a sneak attack. Therefore, I want one of you to go and protect her, who is willing to go. The entire lounge became quiet. Not a single man stood out. The reason was very simple. They were all men with girlfriends or wives. How could they protect a woman? Then their wives would be jealous. In the lounge, Zishan said softly, Yi Hong, this is a good chance, quickly accept the mission. Yi Hong still didn't know about Zishan's thoughts and every single day she would crazily probe Zishan. Even when she went out for a stroll at night, she would point at the women around her and ask, Are they pretty? Right, Yi Hong is very good at martial arts. Zishan, the person that I want to protect my entire life is you. The perfect answer. Yi Hong was in awe of herself. Zishan was very satisfied with her husband's reply, and a smile blossomed on her beautiful face. However, only Blood Devil and Fusher did not have a girlfriend. Blood Demon didn't get close to women. Furthermore, he had now been promoted to the management level of the bar, and he was able to manage the bar very well. Yi Hua's pocket money was also getting more and more. Do said, Do, but now Yukio had become smarter. He obediently stood at the back of the group, refusing to speak no matter what, and refusing to accept any quests. It wasn't that Do Fusher didn't want to accept it, it was because he had also heard of the demoness. She was extremely savage and killed every man she saw. If he, I. Just as Do Fusher was thinking, his left hand was suddenly pulled up by someone. Upon seeing that, LV Liang immediately cried out in surprise, Do Fusher, good job. Lai Gu said, as expected of a newcomer, his courage is commendable. Wei Chang nodded his head, as a newcomer he actually dares to accept the mission. He is indeed courageous. Do Fusher, good job. Do your best to complete His Honor's mission. Do Fusher was stupefied. Just now my left hand seemed to have been pulled up by spiritual energy. It's definitely them. This is too much. I don't want to go. Do Fusher rushed forward and knelt on the ground. Your Honor. Before Do Fusher could finish, Yi Hua nodded his head. Seeing that you are so proactive, I will hand this difficult mission over to you. Do Fusher, what are you still standing there for? Thank you, Your Honor. Wei Chang said. Do Fusher was actually stupefied. Do Fusher has never felt such despair before. That woman doesn't even blink when she kills men, aren't I just sending myself to death? Yi Hua naturally knew that Do Fusher wasn't that woman's opponent. Yi Hua nodded his head towards Wei Chang, and a lump of black fog came out from Wei Chang's finger, which immediately drilled into Do Fusher's nose. Meanwhile, Do Fusher's body trembled and soon after he felt that it was boring, and he even rolled his eyes. After settling this matter, Yi Hua's gaze became serious. The subordinates didn't dare to be careless, and they respectfully listened to Yi Hua. I have decided to return 5 years later. In these 5 years, I hope that you all will study hard and use books and knowledge to enrich yourselves. When the subordinates heard that, they shouted out in unison, Knowledge makes me happy, learning makes me grow. For such a slogan to come out from the mouths of this group of people, it was indeed hard to believe. They were just like a group of demons being forced by Yi Hua to attend high school. However, to be able to hear that His Honor had set a time, the people from 7 Deadly Sins were still very excited. Although they didn't understand what His Honor was going to do, seeing how serious His Honor was, they knew that he was definitely going to do something big. Immediately Yi Hong's body became hot, and he wished that he could go right now. Yi Hong also saw hope. This way, I will be able to display my masculinity and make Zishan worship me. Disperse, go back and prepare. Yi Hua said faintly. Yes. In an instant, everyone left, leaving behind only Do Fusher, who was lying on the ground and foaming at the mouth, and the Blood Demon. Towards the strength that His Honor bestowed upon Do Fusher, the Blood Demon didn't feel envious at all. On the contrary, he was very satisfied with his current life. Those fights and killing outside are truly not suitable for me, the blood demon. So, it turns out that cooking and bartending are my true interests, only now did I realize it. Yi Hua looked at the blood demon and said, properly learn how to cook in the future, I will leave my meals to you. Upon hearing that, the blood demon was overjoyed. What kind of glory is it to be able to cook for a supreme overlord? To go and bring harm to the common people? Subordinate obeys. Subordinate will definitely cook the most delicious food in the world for your honor to enjoy. Good. I will remember what you said, properly practice for the next 5 years. Yes. The blood demon felt that the blood in his entire body was boiling. This is simply even more exciting than fighting. With a large stride, the blood demon rushed into the kitchen at the back of the house. The corner of Yi Hua's mouth twitched slightly. Don't judge a person by their appearance, so it turns out that the blood demon isn't someone who will bring harm to the common people. After taking a look at Dou Fusher, who was lying on the ground and foaming at the mouth, Yi Hua covered his face with his hand. This Dou Fusher might be the dumbest person in my group. Chapter 629. Wu Yunlang suddenly let out a cry. Yi Hua let out a deep sigh. These two are really stupid. After drinking a cup of wine, Yi Hua returned to Voidless Realm. The children still need me to teach them. 5 years later, the children will also have to carry my banner. However, even after 5 years, Yi Yan was still only 5 years old. A 5-year-old kid was going to be thrown into the outside world by his father to train. Thinking about it, it was really pitiful. When Dou Fusher woke up, he was stupefied. Looking at his surroundings. His honor had already left. I feel that my life has lost its color. His honor actually told me to go and protect a demoness. Is he joking with me? Standing up, Dou Fusher saw that blood demon was carefully wiping the glass. That focused look made Dou Fusher's scalp go numb. Brother blood demon, can I have a glass of wine? Dou Fusher sighed softly. Why was he given such a mission every single time? It was the kind that no one wanted to accept. Blood devil glanced at Dou Fusher and lightly said, pay up. It can't be. Brother blood demon were a team after all. Floating Dou couldn't believe it. They were a team, so why did they have to collect money? Blood demon said in a deep voice, this is his honor's order. Even if his honor's wife wants to drink wine, she needs to pay for it. Floating world, does his honor lack money that much? Dou Fusher suddenly thought of a good idea. I don't know if bribing his honor will work or not. I can try it another day. Forget it, I'll go complete the quest. Dou Fusher said in a low voice. One mustn't be careless when it comes to the task that his honor has given to them. If they don't complete the task, it's very likely that they will be kicked out by his honor. I, Dou Fusher, am also a man who wants face. How can I disappoint his honor's order? Walking out of Leisure Bar, Dou Fusher arrived at the side of the street. He sat in his 90s Santana and took out his phone. He only needed to watch the news to know where the demoness was. After searching for a while, Dou Fusher had already confirmed her whereabouts. She was killing men in Nanyang City. How terrifying. Furthermore, when he saw the picture of the female devil, Dou Fusher felt as though he had seen it somewhere before. He suddenly recalled that day. He divined that he was going to die. Could it be because of this? That was close. I almost died. It seemed that the rumors on the internet were right. This female devil only killed men with girlfriends. Dou Fusher unhurriedly started the Santana under his butt, and a cloud of black mist emerged from his butt. Then there was a dong sound, a little like a tractor. When they arrived at Nanyang City, it was already night time. Dou Fusher first went to eat egg fried rice and a basket of steamed dumplings to fill his stomach. After everything was prepared, he went to find the demoness. After experiencing the strength of his body, Dou Fusher felt as if he had been reborn. Flying to the sky was not that strenuous, and he could even jump from one place to another. Then why did I drive here just now? I was so stupid. Dou Fusher was jumping around with a look of curiosity on his face. Of course, there was also excitement. Who would have thought that his big brother's big brother would impart such a powerful technique to him? Thank you, Your Honor, for your great kindness. I, Dou Fusher, will do my utmost until the day I die. I will definitely protect little big sister well and not let her suffer even a bit of harm. However, at this time, outside the suburbs of Nanyang City, Drifting Soul was ambushed. To be more precise, it was the poison that came from the ancient times. It was terrifying. In order to get rid of this departed soul, Qing Tiandi had put in quite a bit of effort, but he was still nowhere to be found. The Righteous Alliance led by Wang Debao and Bai Cixin were present. At this moment, Li Hun had been temporarily sealed by the primordial celestial artifact, and there were various scars on her body. Her originally beautiful lips had turned black, and her entire body was emitting an aura of death. If he hadn't been poisoned beforehand, how could he have been sealed by an ancient divine artifact? That milk tea woman was so vicious. I detach my soul to kill stinky men for you, and you women actually bite the hand that feeds you. Wang Debao looked at the trapped Li Hun and said in a deep voice, "Honey, this woman can't be killed even with an ancient divine artifact." Bai Cixin was also very surprised. He was first poisoned by the ancient divine weapon, and now he was trapped by the ancient divine weapon, but he was still alive. It was still healing and it wouldn't take long for him to recover. As expected of someone who had reincarnated, he was indeed very strong. Qing Tiandi still wants to live, seems like he won't be able to. Bai Cixin let out a light sigh. Qing Tiandi wanted to subdue this woman. After all, he was currently lacking fighters and this woman's strength was very strong. Of course, Qing Tiandi also said that if he really couldn't do it, then he would just kill her. Wang Debao felt that he could still fight for one last time, and he shouted out to Li Hun, "As long as you obey us, we will let you go." A green cauldron could be seen floating above Li Hun's head, and the cauldron was emitting a terrifying aura. A brilliant golden cage had trapped Li Hun, and numerous golden whips were currently lashing Li Hun's body. Every time one of the whips lashed, an astonishing airwave would be emitted. However, Li Hun's expression didn't change at all, and even though she was poisoned, she still persisted. "Stinky man. Wait for me to come out, I will kill you first." Li Hun slowly raised her head and stared fixedly at Wang Debao. Wang Debao didn't doubt that this woman indeed had the strength to kill him. The difference in strength was too big. "Stop trying to persuade me, it's useless." Bai Cixin's beautiful eyes turned cold, and a spear appeared in her hands. When the spear appeared, thunder and lightning rumbled, and the sound of thunder resounded throughout the world. Electric currents could be seen flickering around the spear, and the subordinates standing behind Bai Cixin could clearly feel that the spear was different from the others. It turns out that the Justice and Order Alliance is so powerful that they can even subdue this demoness. When Li Hun saw the spear in Bai Cixin's hands, her gaze became a bit serious. "Demonic woman. I am going to ask you one last time." Without waiting for Bai Cixin to finish speaking, Li Hun snorted coldly, "Sooner or later, you will die in a man's hands." "Fine. Then I will let this Godslayer send you back." Bai Cixin shouted as she raised the Godslayer high in the air with her right hand and threw it out. When the Godslayer flew out, the white electric currents seemed like they were going to run through the ground, and the dazzling light caused everyone to close their eyes. Li Hun really wanted to struggle free, but the ancient godly weapon's poison seemed to have been specially made for her, and coupled with the pressure from the cauldron above her head, she wasn't able to struggle free in a short period of time. As for this Godslayer, puff. Without any suspense, the Godslayer pierced through Li Hun's body, and a big hole appeared in Li Hun's lower abdomen. This was the effect of a chain reaction. As long as the ancient godly weapon was used correctly, it was entirely possible to kill a powerful expert. Just like Li Hun, if she wasn't poisoned, she wouldn't have been suppressed by the cauldron, and if she wasn't suppressed by the cauldron, she wouldn't have been pierced through by the Godslayer. Li Hun immediately spurted out a large amount of blood, and the blood flowing out of her lower abdomen was even more so. Li Hun's entire body instantly became a lot more listless, and the color on her face also became less and less. Chapter 630. The followers cheered when they saw the female devil's appearance. The Justice and Order Alliance once again defended the justice of the world. At this moment, two figures landed. Space-time branch is taking over. Wang Debao and Bai Cixin furrowed their brows slightly when they saw the two of them land on the ground. They had heard of the space-time branch from Qing Tian. Xiao Yi used to be a field agent of the space-time branch, so he knew what the space-time branch was in charge of. It was to catch those who had been reborn. But, King want to catch me? Why didn't you show up before? Now that I'm beaten half to death, you're shameless to the extreme. The followers behind them were confused. It was the first time they heard about the space-time branch. Wang Debao looked at the two. One of them was obviously the boss. He had an imposing appearance, long hair, and a mole under the corner of his mouth. Wang Debao was relieved. She wasn't as handsome as him. The mole had played the role of finishing touch, and ruined her entire face. The one next to him was not bad looking. He was Wu Lu, Xiao Yi's former boss. The other one with the mole was the director of the spacetime branch. Shi Jingao, Director Shi. Why did they appear at this time? Just as Wang Debao had guessed, they were beaten to this state. Such a powerful woman couldn't be touched by the spacetime branch. They could only monitor her a little. But now they didn't need to monitor her. They could just turn on the phone and know where she was. This woman was too arrogant. You can go now. Wu Lu took a step forward and said to Bai Cixin and Wang Debao expressionlessly. It was as if he was the boss here. Before Bai Cixin could speak, the brothers of the Justice and Order Alliance disagreed. Fuck, who are you? Let us go. Who do you think you are? What bullshit spacetime branch? I have never heard of it. Shi Jingao's face didn't change. He stood with his hands behind his back. It was as if nothing could make him emotional. Wu Lu couldn't be like this. His face darkened. A huge surge of spiritual energy suddenly spread out. He waved his hand in the air. A huge astral wind engulfed the underlings and sent them flying. How dare you? How dare you shout in front of the chief? Wu Lu angrily shouted. If it wasn't for the rules, he would have killed these people. Bai Cixin and Wang Debao stood firmly on their feet. If both of them were sent flying, it would really be embarrassing. Shi Jingao suddenly patted Wu Yo on the shoulder. Don't be so angry. It's not good to scare the children. Wu Lu respectfully lowered his head and retreated behind Shi Jingao. You must be the boss of the Justice Alliance. Let me introduce myself. I am the director of the spacetime branch, Shi Jingao. We have been keeping an eye on this fugitive for a long time. We planned to arrest her tonight, but we didn't expect something like this to happen. Shi Jingao's words sounded good. At least to Bai Cixin and Wang Debao, he had given them enough face. But Wang Debao did not look too good. Shi Jingao? Why was this name so unique? Could it be very high in history? Why not call him Shi Jinchang? Because Wang Debao had to hold back his laughter. His face looked very twisted, as if he was about to hit someone. When Wang Debao and Wang Debao saw Wang Debao's expression, it seemed like they were about to make a move. Right at this moment, Li Hun snorted coldly. Do you really think that you can kill us like this? Wishful thinking. You damned men, I will use your blood to wipe my shoes later on. Shi Jingao wrinkled his brows and stretched out his index finger. Bio. A green ray of light shot out from his finger and directly penetrated through Li Hun's right shoulder. Li Hun, who was already heavily injured, once again received another injury. Shi Jingao said lightly, you still haven't realized your current situation. Despicable. Li Hun shouted out weakly. Another green ray of light shot out from Shi Jingao's finger and penetrated through Li Hun's left shoulder as well. At first glance, both of Li Hun's arms were hanging down powerlessly. But even after receiving such a heavy injury, Li Hun did not make any sound. From this, it could be seen just how strong this woman's willpower was. In actuality, Li Hun just didn't want to show her weakness in front of that stinky man. In the past, it was precisely because of this that she was killed by that pair of adulterers. Never again. Shi Jingao's action slightly shocked Bai Cixin and Wang Debao. The director of this spacetime branch was indeed very powerful. Even they had to use an ancient artifact to hurt Li Hun. But this director could do it so easily. Could it be that what he said was true? What happened tonight was just a coincidence. In fact, it was not. If Li Hun was at full strength, Shi Jingao would not be able to do anything. Although he could fight with Li Hun, it would be a great risk for him. Shi Jingao would not put himself in danger, nor would he do something that he was not confident about. In the end, it was just that he couldn't beat Li Hun. But when Li Hun was injured, Shi Jingao could completely suppress her, so it could be said that Shi Jingao was still capable of hurting Li Hun. Just like just now. Bai Cixin was also thinking about a problem now. This woman was very useful to the Justice and Order Alliance, even if she was a corpse. If such a news spread, the Justice and Order Alliance's status would rise to a higher level. After all, this woman had killed so many people, which had already caused public anger. If she handed it over just like that, Bai Cixin would be unwilling. Besides, there were so many people watching. Once she handed it over, where would she put her face? Director Shi, you also know that this woman has killed a lot of people this month? I have to answer to everyone, Bai Cixin said in a sweet voice. This credit was obtained by her and her husband risking their lives. How could he just take her away just because he wanted her? How was that possible? Shi Jingao did not refute and agreed. Indeed, the appearance of this woman has caused a lot of losses. So, it doesn't seem appropriate for me to hand it over to you just like that. Bai Cixin was not afraid of this director. She had an ancient artifact in her hands, and with her husband's strength, she could still fight them. If God supporting heaven and earth came, the situation would be better. However, Bai Cixin was not sure whether God supporting heaven and earth would come, because this man was too scheming. She had no idea what he was thinking all day long. It's indeed inappropriate, but this woman is also very useful to me. I hope Miss Bai can understand. Shi Jingao also had his own difficulties. Recently he had to show some results. This was because he heard that Jianghu from the Space Administration was inspecting the work downstairs, and it was very likely that he would come here. If he did not have a good result, it would be very embarrassing. The appearance of Li Hun was Shi Jing'ao's goal. In addition to what she had done recently, Shi Jing'ao was sure that someone would go deal with it. When the time came, he would come out and ask for her. Chapter 631. Bai Cixin could sense Shi Jing'ao's determination to win the battle. Shi Jing'ao could also feel that if he wanted to get this woman, he would have to pay a price. It all depended on the situation. Bai Cixin smiled lightly. Bureau Chief Shi, why don't you understand me? After all, to catch this woman I lost a lot. Then Miss Bai, how can you let me take this woman away? Do you want to fight with us? Shi Jing'ao said softly. There was a serious threat in his words. If they really fought, they might not be his opponent. But Shi Jing'ao didn't want to fight. After all, the time branch had rules. What he did now was already against the rules. If it was brought up, he wouldn't do it. But it was still fine to bluff people. How could they know these rules? What Shi Jing'ao didn't expect was that Xiao Yi had unintentionally mentioned these rules. He didn't know if Wang Debao took it to heart, but Bai Cixin remembered it. Bureau Chief Shi, what you're doing shouldn't be against the rules, right? Bai Cixin was brimming with confidence. In fact, she wasn't weak from the beginning. This sentence made both Shi Jing'ao and Wu Lu confused for a moment. How did this woman know about the space-time branch? Bai Cixin added and smiled, don't be too surprised. I have a friend who is your field agent. He told me about your situation. Who is it? How dare you reveal the time branch? Wu Lu shouted in a deep voice. Too bold. Don't you know you signed a confidentiality agreement? I'm afraid you won't be able to find him. Ye Xiaoyi. Hearing Bai Cixin's words, Wu Lu's face turned serious. Of course Shi Jing'ao knew Xiao Yi because he was also one of the reborn. His file was there. But he didn't expect that as a reborn, Xiao Yi would become a field agent of the time branch. It seemed that this Wu Lu did something behind his back. Wu Lu did hide it from Shi Jing'ao. After all, Xiao Yi's strength was there. He was the most suitable fighter. But he didn't expect that Xiao Yi didn't repay his kindness. He even revealed the rules of the time branch. It seemed that he was wrong about Xiao Yi. When he was beaten up like that, he recruited him, but he used this kind of method to repay him. Damn it, it's good that he died. Miss Bai, what are your conditions? How can you give this woman to us? Shi Jing'ao gave in. He did not intend to use force to snatch her, so he decided to trade. Bai Cixin felt that this was an opportunity. If there was something good to exchange, she would naturally accept it. However, he didn't know Shi Jing'ao's bottom line, so he could only say, Director Shi, how much do you think this woman is worth? Shi Jing'ao sneered in his heart. This woman was really smart. She actually wanted to trick him. What did the space-time branch have the most? It was the primordial spirit. Even if it was the worst primordial spirit, they would probably want it. After all, anyone who could cultivate an essence soul was an expert. However, Wang Debao and Bai Cixin had not cultivated their nascent divinities. Shi Jing'ao stretched out his palm, and a golden sphere radiated light. When the primordial spirit was revealed, there was an uproar. Bai Cixin and Wang Debao also felt that this thing's energy was enormous. For the current him, it was a good thing. However, Bai Cixin also knew that this was probably not Shi Jing'ao's bottom line. What is this? Wang Debao asked curiously. Drifting Soul spat out a mouthful of blood. What a bunch of idiots. They can't even recognize a primordial spirit. A primordial spirit. Bai Cixin and Wang Debao did not expect this to be a primordial spirit. It was indeed very powerful. I wonder if the two of you are satisfied? I want to exchange this primordial spirit for this woman. Shi Jing'ao could see the greed in their eyes. This was good news. Wang Debao did not say anything. It was all up to his wife. He was not good at this. Bai Cixin hid her surprised expression and said softly, A primordial spirit is enough to exchange for this woman? This woman is only worth this much? At this time, Drifting Soul suddenly let out a low laugh. Idiot, primordial spirits are also divided into high and low levels. This primordial spirit is the worst. Shi Jing'ao's face darkened. He stretched out his finger again and a green light pierced through Drifting Soul's chest. This time Drifting Soul almost died. Now he did not even have the strength to speak. Although he was already facing death, Drifting Soul's bodily functions were quickly recovering. This was the self-healing ability of a strong expert. If it was not for the giant cauldron suppression, his injury should have recovered faster. After hearing this, Bai Cixin chuckled, "Bureau Chief Shi, is there a difference between high and low levels?" "Miss Bai, how trustworthy can a witch's words be?" Shi Jing'ao chuckled. In his heart he wanted to kill this witch for talking too much. Bai Cixin sighed, "Then it's difficult for me. After all, you know how useful this woman is." "Miss Bai is really greedy," Shi Jing'ao said in a low voice. Another primordial spirit appeared in his hand, and the pressure it emitted was much stronger than before. Shi Jing'ao said in a low voice, "Miss Bai, 2 primordial spirits for this woman, but I also want you to know that I am the bureau chief of the space-time branch." This was a serious warning from Shi Jing'ao. Don't push your luck. Stop when you're ahead is what you should do. Of course Bai Cixin knew this. What she wanted to do was to squeeze out more profits, and now she was very successful. The purpose of this which was to increase the prestige of the Righteous and Righteous Alliance, but the Righteous and Righteous Alliance was still heaven and earth, not Bai Cixin's. But this primordial spirit could be used by itself to increase its own strength. So this trade was definitely worth it. As for the people behind them, they could just kill them later. Of course, this matter couldn't be known by heaven and earth. One should know that heaven and earth seemed to value it a lot, otherwise they wouldn't have given out so many ancient artifacts. Bai Cixin stretched out her slender hand. Shi Jing'ao laughed and raised his hand slightly, and the 2 primordial spirits flew into Bai Cixin's hand. "Miss Bai is indeed a smart woman," Shi Jing'ao said lightly. Actually, it was not a big deal to exchange for 2 primordial spirits like this, but Bai Cixin's attitude made Shi Jing'ao a little unhappy. Bai Cixin said in a sweet voice, "Bureau Chief Shi should know how to use them." Shi Jing'ao heaved a sigh of relief. He really wanted to give this woman a slap. As Shi Jing'ao waved his hand, the 2 primordial spirits sank into Bai Cixin and Wang Debao's forehead. A fierce pressure suddenly bloomed, and the golden light between their eyebrows shone brightly, and it did not subside for a long time. After a long time it finally calmed down. Wang Debao clenched his fists. Compared to himself just now, it was simply a complete change. Bai Cixin's face turned cold, and she slowly stretched out her slender hand towards her subordinates. These people knew something they shouldn't know. So there could only be one result. Chapter 632. When Bai Cixin stretched out her palm, everyone felt a strange spiritual pressure that appeared beside them, as if something was pressing down on them. "Alliance Master Bai. Alliance Master Bai. What are you doing? Alliance Master Bai, don't kill us." "That's right, we don't know anything, don't kill us." Bai Cixin wasn't a soft-hearted woman, she was decisive when it came to killing. This point was a bit stronger than Qingya and Donghuang Baiji. If Qingya and Donghuang Baiji were here, they wouldn't kill their subordinates. Along with Bai Cixin's clenching of her hand, the subordinates immediately exploded and died. Feeling the surge of power, Bai Cixin was very satisfied. Just now, that powerful being entered my body, I am much more powerful than my husband. Of course, Wang Debao wouldn't mind this point because the more powerful his wife was, the more he would feel a sense of accomplishment. Why would he feel a sense of accomplishment? When his wife eats popping candy, that would be a man's sense of accomplishment. Good move. Shi Jing'ao even applauded. In actuality, even if Bai Cixin didn't make a move, he would have made a move. After all, these people had seen and heard too much. Bai Cixin revealed a light smile. "Bureau Chief Shi, this woman is yours." After finished speaking, Bai Cixin planned to leave with her husband. Right now they still can't go and meet Qing Tiandi. The spiritual pressure is very unstable. I have to properly control it. I can't let Qing Tiandi see through anything. "Miss Bai, wait a moment." Shi Jing'ao suddenly had an idea. This idea was actually pretty much the same as Wu Lu's idea. "Bureau Chief Shi, is there anything else?" Bai Cixin turned around and asked curiously. "I wonder if I can cooperate with Miss Bai." "Cooperate?" Bai Cixin was puzzled. She immediately started calculating the pros and cons. Shi Jing'ao just wanted to use Bai Cixin's identity to do things for him. This way the pressure on the spacetime branch would be reduced a bit. Those field agents below them were still relatively weak. As for why they didn't distribute the primordial spirit, this was also the rule of the spacetime branch. If the people below them rebelled, it would be even more troublesome to deal with them. Shi Jingyao nodded his head and said lightly, "In return, I will also provide some help." Bai Cixin silently calculated in his heart. The ship's sky supporting Earth was very unstable, and he really should find a partner to cooperate with. This spacetime branch seemed to be a good choice. This primordial spirit could even be released. How bad could it be? The most important thing was that this was a cooperation. Compared to being with sky-lifting Earth, they were subordinates. There was a difference between the two. This was also a way out. What does Miss Bai think? Bai Cixin pretended that she was having a hard time making a decision. She was putting on a show for Shi Zhen. After all, she could not agree so quickly. What kind of help can Director Shi give me? Bai Cixin asked curiously. As long as you help me, I will naturally do my best to help you. This is cooperation. Then how can I trust you? Bai Cixin asked in return. Shi Jingyao rubbed onto his sideburns and said eerily, I think, if I were to kill the two of you right now, no one would know, right? Bai Cixin and Wang Debao's faces darkened. Shi Jingyao was right. All right. After a long while, Bai Cixin finally agreed. It was better to have one more friend than one more enemy. Miss Bai is a straightforward person. I wish us a happy cooperation. A happy cooperation. The two shook hands and came to a consensus. Go and bring the person over. Shi Jingyao said faintly. Tonight's harvest was quite big. Yes. Wu Lu said respectfully. The decision that I made in private caused the director to be at a disadvantage in the negotiation. When I return later, I will definitely be scolded. Bai Cixin and Wang Debao were not in a hurry to leave. After all, they were considered to be partners now. If something unexpected were to happen later on, they still had to help. However, just when the husband and wife thought of something unexpected happened. Ah! A series of ghostly wails rang out from the sky, as if a person falling from a high altitude was crying for help. Wu Lu immediately became vigilant as he raised his head and looked at the night sky. A black figure could be seen flying over at high speed. To be more precise, it was flying over at high speed. Ah! Floating World let out a series of screams. Due to him being too excited, he didn't even know how to land. There's no helping it, I am completely unable to control my strength. Shi Jingyao tightly wrinkled his brows. This black figure was actually flying towards the cauldron. Wang Debao seemed to be able to hear a muffled sound as a piece of meat patty stuck onto the cauldron. As the distance got closer and closer, everyone looked at the scene of the accident curiously. Bang! The black figure crashed onto the cauldron. However, a terrifying pressure immediately spread out in all directions. This was the aura that was emitted out from an ancient godly artifact being smashed. The cauldron in the sky could be seen to be smashed into pieces, and pieces of the cauldron fell onto the ground. Without the restriction of the cauldron, Li Hun fell onto the ground and was unable to move. However, his recovery speed had increased by a lot. The four looked at the scene dumbfoundedly. That black figure actually smashed an ancient godly artifact into pieces. How is this possible? Even Shi Jingyao exclaimed in admiration. An ancient godly artifact is much more powerful than an ancient godly item, and yet, this black figure actually smashed it into pieces with just his physical body. Just how strong is that black figure? Boom. Floating World's entire body smashed onto the ground. The ground beneath the four slightly trembled, and a large crater appeared in front of them. The pitiful Li Hun was very close to Floating World, and thus, Li Hun was nowhere to be seen. If Yi Hua were to find out about this matter, he would definitely feel that there is something wrong with his judgment of people. I asked you to go and save him, yet you buried him instead. As expected, you are even more arrogant than a husky. Floating World laid on the large crater and stared blankly at the sky. I was scared to death, luckily I didn't die. Sitting up, Floating World checked his body, and discovered that his body was in good condition. Not a single piece of his skin had fallen off. However, when I fell onto the ground just now, I seem to have smashed into something, and that thing seems to be very valuable. I hope that I won't have to pay for it. Suddenly, Floating World seemed to have thought of something. I am here to save the big sister, and I clearly sensed that she was here just now. Where is she? Floating World stood up and looked around, but I didn't discover anyone. On the other hand, there are 4 people over there. Floating World felt that I should go and ask them. It will be troublesome if I can't find the big sister. With a light leap, Floating World landed in front of Shi Jingyao and the others. Floating World revealed a smile on his face, and his white teeth looked rather clean. Just that his clothes were a bit worn out. Did you all see a woman? Is she very beautiful, very fierce, the kind that likes to kill men? Floating World asked curiously with an innocent look on his face. I am just short of saying that I am an honest person. The four did not expect that this black figure was actually here to look for the demonic woman. Floating World immediately felt that the situation wasn't good. Wang Debao casually pointed towards a direction. She ran over there. Chapter 633. Dou Fusher looked at the direction that Wang Debao was pointing at, and he went into a daze for a moment. Soon after, he smiled and said, "Thank you." After saying that, he disappeared on the spot. His speed was so fast that it left people speechless. However, Dou Fusher was a little confused. He seemed to have seen this man and woman somewhere before. Where? Why don't I have any impression of him? Seeing that Dou Fusher had left, the four of them let out sighs of relief. Although this person was very powerful, his brain wasn't very good. The person he was looking for had already been buried in the pit. Fortunately, he's an honest man, Wang Debao muttered. Bai Cixin nodded. If she had met someone with a brain, she would have noticed that something was wrong. Honey, don't you think we've seen that man somewhere before? Wang Debao suddenly asked in a low voice. As soon as her husband mentioned it, Bai Cixin immediately became concerned. When she recalled the man's appearance just now, her face gradually darkened. Suddenly he remembered. Hubby. At my brother's funeral. Bai Cixin said in a low voice. Wang Debao also recalled that the man who came to the funeral and babbled nonsense seemed to be Tang Wushuang's subordinate. But wasn't that man killed by his wife? That's not right. Didn't you kill that person? Wang Debao asked doubtfully. Bai Cixin heaved a sigh of relief and said faintly, maybe they just look alike. Shi Jinghao searched for the information of the man in his mind and found that he was not someone who had been reborn. Where did this man come from? Why was he so strong? Chief, we have to take him away quickly. Wu Lu stood at the side and reminded in a low voice. If that man discovered that something was wrong, he would definitely come back to kill them. Shi Jinghao agreed with her. Hurry up and take her away, lest a long night brings trouble. Go quickly. Shi Jinghao said in a deep voice. He couldn't stay calm anymore. However, Wu Lu had just lifted his foot when a gale hit him. Dou Fusher's figure appeared again. The four of them were startled. He had returned so quickly. He must have found something wrong. Sure enough, he couldn't be fooled. This man was still very smart. Dou Fusher turned around and smiled, revealing his white teeth once again. I dropped my phone when I landed and it cost me more than 10,000 RMB. It's an Apple XS. What about Max? Selfies can even beautify your face. The four of them were speechless. Alright, I overestimated him. I didn't expect him to be such a chinibyu. Shi Jinghao chuckled. It's really not bad. I'm using it too. Then he took out his XS. Max took it out. Dou Fusher paused for a moment, then actually walked towards Shi Jinghao. This made the group feel even more pressured. Why are you walking over here? Hurry up and find your phone. My phone's battery is draining pretty quickly. Do you have the same phenomenon? Dou Fusher looked at Shi Jinghao and asked curiously. Shi Jinghao regretted taking out his phone, but he still smiled and said, maybe you didn't download the system properly. It might be better to turn off some of the Bluetooth functions. Really? I just bought this phone not long ago and there are still many things that I don't know. Can you teach me? Shi Jinghao, Bai Cixin, who was at the side, almost collapsed. Bureau Chief Shi, why did you have to take out your mobile phone? Other people just took the mobile phone and left. Moreover, the demoness was still buried in the ground. What if she suffocated to death later? What could Shi Jin do? The man in front of him was very strong, so he could only answer his questions carefully. The few of them were about to collapse from playing Floating World, and he actually still asked how to take screenshots. Don't you know how to read the manual? Bai Cixin finally couldn't help but say softly, handsome, you haven't found your phone yet. Dou Fusher slapped his forehead. He had completely forgotten about the important matter at hand. Find my phone. Big brother, your business is to look for little Missy. He was not looking for a cell phone. Dou Fusher once again came to the crater and stood where he was lying. Sure enough, he saw his 10,000 yuan phone. I took the phone and looked at it for a while. Luckily, the phone screen was not broken. If it was broken, it would be very expensive. Found it? Dou Fusher waved the phone in his hand. The four of them were very cooperative. They all smiled and even warmly applauded in celebration. It was as if Dou Fusher had done something amazing, causing people's scalps to go numb. Just as Dou Fusher was about to leave the crater, the mound of earth beside him suddenly slid down a little, revealing a fair and tender little hand. This caused the hearts of the four to sink to the bottom. It's over. Dou Fusher was stunned for a moment. A hand had actually appeared. What was going on? It should be a corpse, right? Let's not bother about this kind of thing. It's more important to find the big sister. That's right. Let's not bother about this. Dou Fusher could be seen walking towards the four of them. This action caused the four of them to be dumbfounded. They had no idea what Dou Fusher was trying to do. Aren't you looking for someone? The person is right there, why aren't you going? Dou Fusher just didn't want to bother about other people's business. However, when they saw Dou Fusher's action, the four of them heaved a sigh of relief. It's fortunate that there's something wrong with this expert's brain. Otherwise it would be hard to say. However, Dou Fusher suddenly stopped walking. This stop almost caused the four of their hearts to stop. This man is too troublesome. Just by going back and forth a few times, he has already caused us to tremble in fear. Also, what is he trying to do now? Bastard. Can't you just do everything in one go? Dou Fusher felt that he was a good person. The greater one's ability, the greater the things one could do. Saving a life is better than building a 7-floor pagoda, even if it was a corpse. Looking at Dou Fusher walking towards the demonic woman, the four of them felt their scalps going numb. Didn't you see it just now? She had already left, so why are you walking back now? That's right. Dou Fusher turned on the light on his phone and lightly tapped on the white arm. Not to mention the arm is quite smooth, it should be a female, right? Looking at the color of the skin, it should be a beautiful woman, what a pity. Dou Fusher grabbed onto Li Hun's arm and pulled. I actually can't pull her arm, how is this possible? Dou Fusher took a look at the four of them. He felt that he had lost a bit of face, I can't even pull a single person out. Therefore, he pulled with all his might. Dou Fusher had not gotten used to his own strength at all, and he had no idea how heavy his pull was. Li Hun's delicate body could be seen crashing into a pile of dirt at the side like a cannonball, immediately raising up a cloud of dust that was tens of meters tall. When the four of them saw this scene, their jaws almost dropped onto the ground. They felt that this man was here to kill the demonic woman, and not to save the demonic woman. Dou Fusher was also a bit stupefied. When did my strength become so great? Just pulling a single person out can cause such an effect. This is simply too cruel. I've sinned. I actually massaged a corpse. Dou Fusher hurriedly ran to the opposite pit to look for the corpse, and very quickly he dug out Li Hun's delicate body. Chapter 634. When he saw Li Hun who was on the verge of death, Dou Fusher felt unwell. Isn't this the big sister that I have to protect? Why did she become like this? Dou Fusher hurriedly wiped the little sister's face, wanting to confirm it. That's right, that plum blossom mark on her forehead is too classic, it's her. His honor told me to protect her, but just now, Dou Fusher swallowed his saliva. This isn't good, and looking at the big sister's appearance, she seems to be dying. What should I do? The four people who were standing far away did not take any action. They wanted to know just what this man came here for. Dou Fusher carried Li Hun out, then placed her on the ground. The big sister's injuries are so serious, her abdomen, chest, shoulders, are all filled with holes. However, her chest was still moving up and down. Dou Fusher took a glance at her chest, then immediately shifted his gaze away. So big, I should save the big sister first. If she dies, I won't be able to explain myself to his honor. Dou Fusher lightly moved aside the big sister's hair. Dou Fusher feels so beautiful, coupled with the plum blossom mark on her forehead, he is simply about to explode. I feel that she is even more beautiful than Zishan's sister-in-law. Of course it's just a little bit, it's all because of the plum blossom mark. Dou Fusher could be seen taking a deep breath, then opening Li Hun's cherry lips. Puff puff puff, can artificial respiration make such a sound? At least that is what Shi Jinghao thinks. However, from this point, it can be seen that this man came to save her. The situation is a bit bad. Seeing Dou Fusher's actions, Wang Debao couldn't help but nod his head. As expected, cultivators can save people like this. I've learned it. Is artificial respiration supposed to save someone who is injured like this? You only know how to take advantage of others. Dou Fusher is just a lowly robber, his first aid method is still very old-fashioned. Even if he has the ability now, he doesn't know how to save someone. Therefore he can only use artificial respiration. He definitely doesn't have any intention of taking advantage of others. One must know that Dou Fusher is an honest person. How would he do something as despicable as taking advantage of others? Although I feel that the big sister's mouth is very sweet. Li Hun woke up. She was originally injured badly, but after the restriction of the giant cauldron disappeared, she started to recover quickly. However, a huge force scattered the spiritual energy that he had gathered and buried him in the mound, almost suffocating him to death. Then, for some unknown reason, his entire body was sent flying, and his internal organs were almost dislocated from the impact. Even his healing speed was much faster than before. Just now, he heard puffing sounds beside his ears, his lips seemed to be moving a little, and there was even air blowing into his mouth. He opened his eyes. But when she saw a man. When he had kissed her with that dirty mouth, Li Hun had almost died. She hadn't even let that stinky man touch her, not even letting him hold her hand, but now she had actually been kissed by a man. Soul Departing coughed up another mouthful of blood. It seemed that Li Hun had been killed by the adulterer and the prostitute for a reason. You didn't even allow others to touch your hands, so how could they not be angry? Dou Fusher was relieved when he saw Soul Drift spurting out blood. He said softly, "All right, you'll be fine after you spit out the blood." Soul Departing's beautiful eyes bulged. Screw your sister's extravasated blood. If he could move his body now, he would definitely cut this man into pieces. Soul Departing looked at the four people at the side, and killing intent flashed in his eyes. These four bastards. Once I recover, I will definitely take your lives. Don't turn your head if you're injured, it's not good for your neck. Dou Fusher helped to straighten Soul Departing's head. Soul Departing was in disbelief. What did my injury have to do with my neck? The four of them felt that they couldn't stay here any longer, and all of them disappeared from the spot. If Soul Departing could speak, something would definitely happen. Soul Departing wanted to kill this man in front of him even more now. He had actually used his hands to grab his head. Dou Fusher didn't pay attention to the four of them. In his heart, he just wanted to protect Soul Departing, and he didn't need to worry about anything else. Looking at Soul Departing's strange gaze, Dou Fusher laughed lightly. "All right, you don't need to thank me for saving you. I was just doing a good deed." Soul Departing was furious. "Do I need you to save me? You pervert, you are the same as those men, all bastards. Actually, do you know that we have met before? Last time when you stood on the streets, I told you to be careful, do you remember?" I guess you don't remember either. But how did you end up in such a state? If I came a bit later, you would have been dead. Fortunately, I managed to save you in time. It was really dangerous. When Dou Fusher said these words, he felt a bit guilty. It couldn't be that I caused her to end up in such a state, right? Hearing Dou Fusher's nagging, Soul Departing felt that she was going to vomit blood again. Also, are you planning to sit here and nag for the entire night? My name is Dou Fusher. What's your name? Forget it, cold and aloof beauties usually don't talk, I understand. But who asked me to protect you, little mischievous fellow? After saying that, Dou Fusher stretched out his hand and touched Soul Departing's face. Soul Departing was so angry that she vomited blood again. Seeing that Soul Departing vomited blood again, Dou Fusher felt relieved. Just spit out the blood and it will be fine. Soul Departing. Dou Fusher looked at the mark on Soul Departing's forehead and he stretched out his hand and touched it. "This mark of yours is really beautiful, was it drawn?" After saying that, he even rubbed his hands a few times. "From the looks of it, it doesn't seem to be a painting you." Dou Fusher saw Li Hun's expression and was speechless. He swallowed his saliva and said, "I'm sorry, I just touched it out of curiosity. Don't look at me like that." That's right, Li Hun's eyes were about to spit fire. He actually dared to touch his birthmark. No man had ever touched her birthmark before. Bastard, there wasn't a single man who was good. Let's head back. It's getting a little cold here. Dou Fusher helped Soulless up. This was the first time Dou Fusher was supporting a woman. Dou Fusher's posture was a little off. He had touched a place that he shouldn't have. "What did you put on your body? It's so soft." Dou Fusher asked curiously. Li Hun coughed out another mouthful of blood and fainted in Dou Fusher's arms. Dou Fusher stared blankly for a moment before smiling. "I'll be fine after vomiting." The two of them then disappeared from where they stood. Floating World had finally completed the first step of the quest, finding Soulcast and almost killing the quest target. Dou Fusher arrived at his hometown, Weiyang Village. Dou Fusher felt that he should first leave the little big sister here for a few days so that she can properly recover from her injuries. Dou Fusher walked into the house that was built with mud bricks and saw that there wasn't anyone inside. All of Dou Fusher's family members had passed away, and the only property left was this old house. The central house was pitch black. Dou Fusher walked towards the small house on the right, opened the wooden door and turned on the lights. Afterward, Dou Fusher lightly placed Li Hun on the bed. Begging for monthly votes, begging for monthly votes, begging. Chapter 635. Dou Fusher took a look at the few small holes on Li Hun's body, and discovered that they had actually healed quite a bit. This woman is truly mystical. However, seeing that her clothes are dirty, I should help her change into a new one, lest she dirties my bed. The blanket is also hard to wash. His Honor wanted me to protect her, but now I have to take care of her. This is truly troublesome. Walking out of the room, Dou Fusher began boiling water, then took out a few sets of clothes to change into. Although these clothes are a bit old, I'll just let her use them for now, lest she says that I'm stingy. After pouring out the boiling water, Dou Fusher tested the temperature of the water, then poured a bit of cold water. At this moment, Li Hun woke up from her coma. She looked at her surroundings and was a bit confused, but it was more important for her to recover from her injuries. In just a few hours, when I recover, all of you are going to die. Especially that man just now. He actually kissed me, touched me, and even touched my birthmark. I must kill him to silence him. There isn't a single good man in this world. You're awake. Dou Fusher walked over while carrying the basin and said with a smile. Li Hun stared at Dou Fusher as if she could kill Dou Fusher with her stare. She wanted to scold him, but she was unable to make a sound. There's something wrong with your gaze. I saved you and even brought you back. After speaking, Dou Fusher placed the basin on the ground, then took the towel that was on his shoulder and placed it in the water to wash. Looking at Dou Fusher's actions, Li Hun tightly wrinkled her brows. What is he trying to do? Dou Fusher squeezed the towel dry, then said carefully, I saw that your body was a bit dirty, so I helped you wipe it. Don't misunderstand, I just don't want you to dirty the bed. It's very hard to wash. The corner of Li Hun's mouth slightly twitched. Who cares about you? Scram. Is my body something that a man like you can touch? Although Li Hun thought that she could only use her eyes to express her thoughts, she was completely unable to say anything. Don't be too sad, everyone has times where they get beaten up. I'm holding your hand. If you don't say anything, I'll take it that you're agreeing. Bastard. When I recover, I'll definitely kill you. When Dou Fusher saw that Li Hun was still not speaking, he sighed in his heart. This woman wants me to take advantage of her. Does she think I don't know? I, Dou Fusher, am also a decent man. If it wasn't for His Honor's order, how could I possibly have contacted you? Gently holding onto Drifting Soul's small hand, Dou Fusher began to carefully wipe the dust off his fingers, not even letting go of his fingernails. Your hands are so beautiful. Dou Fusher couldn't help but sigh. This soul-leaving palm was very slender and soft. It felt very nice to touch. Dou Fusher couldn't help but blush. This was the first time he had touched a girl's hand, so he was a bit shy. Li Hun was so angry that his entire body was trembling. This bastard was actually playing with his palm, pervert. Looking at Li Hun's slightly rosy face, Dou Fusher became even more shy. This is a man and a woman. I have sinned. These are all quests, nothing more. Lifting soul-departing sleeves, Dou Fusher could not help but sigh, so white. Hearing Dou Fusher's words, Drifting Soul almost fainted from anger. She even felt a deep sense of despair. Even if this man wanted to do something to her, she wouldn't be able to resist. Sorry, I'm just speaking the truth. You're really beautiful. Dou Fusher still wanted to affirm Drifting Soul's beauty. Upon hearing Dou Fusher's words, Drifting Soul, who was originally angry, snorted in her heart. Aren't you just spouting nonsense? Men only know how to flirt. I've seen too many of them. After wiping Drifting Soul's arm clean, Dou Fusher changed a basin of water. Let me help you wipe your face, it's all bloody. Dou Fusher picked up a towel and wiped Drifting Soul's face, while Drifting Soul's eyes were still in a state where flames were shooting out from them. Their eyes met, and Dou Fusher immediately turned his face away. After wiping Drifting Soul's face clean, Drifting Soul's face became even more beautiful. Dou Fusher. You have to stay calm, don't be charmed by the enemy. She is definitely trying to seduce me right now. Your clothes are all torn, so I found you a new set of clothes and I'll also help you wipe your body. Don't misunderstand, I'm just doing this out of kindness. If you don't want it, just tell me and you can wipe your body yourself. Drifting Soul really wanted to shout at Do Fusher to get lost, but the sound that came out of her mouth was indeed. Do Fusher was startled and he hurriedly said, I'm not such a casual man. If you want to date me you have to take it slow, you can't be too impatient. Drifting Soul, I feel like fainting right now. How can there be such a shameless man? I'm truly in despair. You can be at ease, I'll help you cover your important parts, I won't look at them. Drifting Soul clenched her teeth tightly. Right now she wished that she could eat Do Fusher's flesh. Do Fusher was still a very upright person. After taking off Drifting Soul's clothes, he immediately covered up Drifting Soul's important parts, guaranteeing that Drifting Soul wouldn't look at them. Right now Drifting Soul had already given up resisting. After I have a good night's rest, I'll kill him tomorrow morning. I don't even have to wait until morning. To actually do such a thing while I'm injured, shameless to the extreme. After wiping Drifting Soul's body clean, Do Fusher let out a sigh of relief, and then helped Drifting Soul change into a new set of clothes. Drifting Soul was clearly a classical beauty, but in an instant, Do Fusher had turned her into a village woman. Alright, you should rest early, good night. Do Fusher said to Drifting Soul, then walked out of the room and went to the other side to rest. Listening to Do Fusher's voice, Drifting Soul slowly closed her beautiful eyes. Right now my main goal is to recover my strength and then kill that man. Chop him into meat paste and feed him to the dogs. I have to wash away my shame. For the sake of achieving this goal, Drifting Soul began entering into meditation and quickly recovered. Meanwhile, after taking a bath, Do Fusher lied down on the bed and slept. My quilt is dirty, I still have to wash it tomorrow. If I were to find a wife, I would definitely have to find a wife who knows how to cook and wash clothes. Although this woman is pretty, she isn't my type. I heard that Jianghu is a henpecked husband, and that he doesn't even have any status in the family. Thinking about it, how did Jianghu survive those terrifying days? His honor is still the most awesome one. His two wives are so beautiful, and their strength is also so formidable. In front of his honor, my goal is to be a man like his honor. While thinking, Do Fusher fell into a deep sleep. He was indeed a bit tired today. After all, Do Fusher wasn't able to adapt to the sudden increase in strength, and thus he fell into a deep sleep. In the dead of the night, Drifting Soul suddenly opened her beautiful eyes, then clenched her fists and muttered, Your time of death has come. It must be said that Drifting Soul's recovery speed was very fast. A few hours ago she was still on the verge of death, but right now she had actually completely recovered. Sitting up, Drifting Soul pushed open the door and decided to first go and kill that stinky man. Chapter 636. Do Fusher was in a deep sleep and did not feel anything at all. He did not even notice the aura emitted by the soul-stealing sword. Drifting Soul looked at Do Fusher's face and almost fainted from anger. Especially the corner of his mouth that was slightly raised, as if he was very happy. Why was he happy? It must be because he had taken advantage of her, so he seemed very happy. Go to hell, scum. Drifting Soul didn't think too much about it. He pointed his sword at Do Fusher. This sword was aimed at Do Fusher's arm. Drifting Soul wanted to chop off that pair of evil hands. His entire body had been touched by him. Ding! The tip of the sword stabbed into Do Fusher's arm, producing a low sound, but not even a piece of skin was cut off. Li Hun's jaw dropped as he looked at the sword in his hand. It couldn't be a fake, right? Do Fusher pursed his lips, slapped himself on the arm, then turned over and went back to sleep. I thought that it was a mosquito. Drifting Soul felt terrible. His weapon couldn't hurt him at all. How was that possible? Could it be that his strength hadn't recovered yet? That's not right. He had already recovered. However, Drifting Soul didn't care too much about it. He picked up his sword and slashed down ferociously, sword light flashing wildly. A few minutes later, Drifting Soul's breathing quickened as Do Fusher was still sleeping on the bed. However, his weapon had no effect on him at all. It was like a toy, but even if it was a toy, it would still be awakened. And he was actually scratching an itch. My attacks are just scratching an itch for you, bastard. I don't believe I can't kill you today, filthy man. I'll make you explode and die. Soul Departing spread open its hands, forming a pink mist around its hands. With a single look, one could tell that it wasn't anything good. To be able to cause a man's body to explode, one could well imagine how powerful it was. You will die in torture, and I will slowly enjoy your pain. Soul Drifting Away let out a strange laugh, fantasizing about Do Fusher exploding and dying, letting his blood splatter all over the room. As Soul Drifting's arms moved, Two streams of pink mist shot toward the sleeping Do Fusher and entered his nostrils. Seeing this result, Li Hun snorted coldly, "How dare you take advantage of me? Repent in hell." Do Fusher suddenly sneezed, rubbed his nose and went back to sleep. Wandering Soul stood on the side and watched. 1 minute later, Li Hun was a little puzzled. Why hadn't it flared up yet? 5 minutes later. Li Hun frowned. 10 minutes later. The departed soul was a little uneasy. Why was there no effect? This man was actually snoring. It's definitely because my strength hasn't recovered properly, it must be like this. Just as Soul departing was consoling himself, Do Fusher farted. However, this fart was a little too powerful, and a black pinkish color floated out. It seemed that the pink mist had been released by the floating battle, and there was even a black unknown object in the middle. Since he was closer to the soul, he was suffocated by the smoke and his entire body seemed to be turning green. This man actually farted and he even smelled it. Immediately, a wave of retching came from his chest, but other than the urge to vomit, there seemed to be a ball of fire condensing in his abdomen. His whole body was burning and his skin had turned pink. Li Hun was shocked. Could it be that he had suffered a backlash? This was impossible. Without any hesitation, the soul guide sat down cross-legged in an attempt to fend off the bizarre flames, but, just as Lin Fan was channeling his soul separation technique to defend himself, he felt even more unbearable. It was as though his body was about to explode. Only then did Wandering Soul realize that this was the effect of his move. Moving to block it would only accelerate the explosion. Bastard. Why is it like this? It is even more ferocious than my own and my entire body is itching unbearably. Ah. Soul departing couldn't help but cry out. This cry woke up Do Fusher who was in a deep sleep. Do Fusher rubbed his eyes and looked at Soul Depari who was sitting at the bedside, and his muddled mind seemed to have become much clearer. Why did you come out? Do Fusher asked curiously. Right at this moment, Soul Depari almost fainted because this was a man's voice. Just a simple conversation was already enough to drive Soul Depari crazy. Seeing that Soul Depari's expression seemed to be in great pain, Do Fusher asked with concern, "Are you alright? Is your wand hurting?" Soul Depari was originally here to kill someone but in the end he ended up like this, causing Soul Depari to almost want to commit suicide. Indeed, Soul Depari wanted to commit suicide right now, but the desire in his heart was already greater than the thought of committing suicide. Looking at Soul Depari who was lying on the ground, Do Fusher had no choice but to stand up and hold onto Soul Depari's shoulder. It's cold to sit on the ground, your wound has not healed yet. This time, it came from a man's hormones. Soul Depari smelled it and even felt it, especially when Do Fusher's hands touched her shoulders. Soul Depari's entire body trembled for a moment, and she felt much more comfortable. However, what came after that was an even more intense desire. Do Fusher also realized that Soul Depari was acting strangely, and with his brows furrowed he said, "Young miss, I was forced to do what I did previously. Although I saw a little, as long as I don't say anything no one will know about it. If you really want me to repay you with my body, please give me a few days to think about it. After all, this is a big matter in my life, and I still don't know if you are my cup of tea or not, so I cannot be too hasty." Do Fusher felt that his rejection was rather gentle, and it wouldn't cause her any impact. "How about this, you go back and have a good sleep first, if there's anything else we can talk about it tomorrow. Actually, I'm a good person." After saying that, Do Fusher felt that the big sister should be able to understand what he meant. Soul Depari couldn't take it anymore. Every single word that Do Fusher said was like a bomb that landed on her heart. Just now, she had said at least 100 words, and her tolerance had already reached a limit. Soul Depari grabbed onto Do Fusher's clothes and looking at the man in front of her, she really wanted to kill this man. Even if she had to die together with him, she wouldn't hesitate to do so, but right now she actually couldn't bear to kill this man, and even had those dirty thoughts. What are you doing? If you have something to say we can talk it out." "Who is talking to you?" Soul Depari directly pressed Do Fusher onto the bed, and even tore apart Do Fusher's clothes. Everything happened too quickly, and before Do Fusher could even react, he was already being ridden. "Just what are you trying to do? I'm not the kind of person you think I am." Do Fusher began to struggle violently, but his hands were firmly pressed down by Soul Depari. Looking at Soul Depari's breathtakingly beautiful face, Do Fusher tried to persuade again, "Even if you want to date me, there has to be a process, right? You are skipping too many steps like this. Furthermore, I don't even know what kind of personality you have, so listen to me first, don't take off my pants. Sol Depari shouted out coldly, shut up. Although her voice was very cold, her expression was very flirtatious, and it gave people a strange feeling. However, Do Fusher was also a strong man, so how could he let Sol Depari get what he wanted so easily? Sol Depari seemed to have realized what Do Fusher was thinking, and she looked at Do Fusher coldly and said, hurry up. Chapter 637. I say, why are you like this? Didn't I just look at you a little? Is there a need to be so direct? Why don't we sit down and have a good chat? If our personalities aren't right, we'll fight even if we're together. Also, I don't like women who are too domineering. I like those who are timid and helpless, those who know how to cook, wash, and take care of children. Do Fusher stated his request in one breath. Li Hun didn't hear it at all, she just wanted it now, but this man wouldn't let her. Bastard. Exasperated, Drifting Soul tore at the clothes on his body, causing them to instantly disappear. Seeing this, Do Fusher felt a gush of hot air in his nostrils, unconsciously feeling respect. Li Hun sensed it, he exclaimed that this was a good opportunity and sat down mercilessly. This made Li Hun moan in pleasure. It was as if all the pores on his skin had opened up. You scheming woman, to actually use this kind of method, it hurts. Do Fusher couldn't help but shout out. This woman is simply inhumane, she actually didn't care about my own thoughts and raped me, and she was even so violent. This is the first time I, Do Fusher, have done it. Wasn't it the same for soul separation? The storm was still going on and the wooden bed kept creaking. It didn't stop for the whole night and the frequency was getting faster and faster. Outside the house, it gradually began to drizzle, forming a beautiful melody as it landed on the ground, but Do Fusher was not in the mood. This woman had been doing it for an hour and still hadn't stopped. She was simply shameless. But now that things had come to this, Do Fusher felt that this was fate. Forget it. I, Do Fusher, am also an old-fashioned man. Since we have already done it, I have to take responsibility. However, the prerequisite was that she had to agree to some of his requests. Otherwise she wouldn't want it. At this time, Drifting Soul was in high spirits, and every cell in his body was screaming excitedly. Suddenly, Li Hun felt empty because this man actually refused to give it to her. He actually did not give her a happy mood. Li Hun really wanted to kill him. What are you doing? The soul-separating substance asked, trying to satisfy that emptiness again. Do Fusher said solemnly, don't go too far. I have people above me. Don't stop me. Li Hun snorted, her pretty face was filled with need. If you agree to my conditions, I won't stop you. Speak. Well, since something like this has happened, you are my wife. To be my wife, you must follow the 3 obediences and 4 virtues. Washing and cooking are essential skills in life. In the future, I will be in charge of the big things in the family, and I will also be in charge of the small things. That's all for now. I will tell you after I think about it. Are you done? Wandering Soul felt like he was going crazy. He could not suppress the excitement in his heart at all. Just give me an answer. If you don't agree, then leave. If you agree, then continue. Drifting Soul took a deep breath. All right, I promise you. Do Fusher nodded seriously and said in a deep voice, bring it on. Drifting Soul laughed. This expression was truly beautiful, once again humiliating Do Fusher. The rain outside was getting heavier, but the passion in the room did not stop. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, on the 3rd night, Do Fusher almost rolled his eyes. This woman was so inhumane. He had tortured himself for 3 days. It can't be helped. The pink mist that Do Fusher breathed in was mixed with the black mist, causing the nature of the mist to double. If Drifting Soul didn't work, she would have exploded and died. If Drifting Soul knew that the ending would be like this, she definitely wouldn't have come to kill Do Fusher. After all, she wouldn't be able to kill Do Fusher at all. Do Fusher hugged onto Drifting Soul's body, and his gaze was a bit confused and helpless. I didn't even have a girlfriend before and I was directly promoted to wife. Furthermore, this woman is so proactive, making me feel very uncomfortable. Normally, cold goddesses aren't that kind of sacred and inviolable goddess, right? Why did things turn out like this? Just as Do Fusher was hesitating, Wei Chang's voice rang out beside his ears. Do Fusher. His Honor is asking you, where is she? Wei Chang's voice was stern as he questioned. It has already been 3 days and the female demon actually disappeared. No one knows where she went. Yihua asked Do Fusher to protect Drifting Soul, not to sleep with someone else. In actuality, he wanted to sleep with someone else. However, the female demon had disappeared for 3 days, and this made Yihua very unhappy. In the end, Yihua still wanted to use her to deal a blow to heaven and earth. Dou Fushi hurriedly said, "She is with me, she suffered some injuries so she is currently receiving treatment." His Honor said to quickly send her out to kill people. It has already been a few days since she last killed people, others have already forgotten about her. Alright, I will immediately send her out to kill people. Dou Fushi hurriedly agreed. After cutting off the connection with Wei Chang, Dou Fushi felt a bit despair. Too many things had happened during these 3 days, such as right now. Little Dou, let's continue. That's right, this is how it is. Dou Fushi is about to feel despair. That drifting soul from before seemed to be fake, but look at this is what I call real. Wait, go and pour a cup of tea for me. Dou Fushi said with a straight face. And, after speaking, drifting soul got off the bed, poured a cup of tea for Dou Fushi, and then laid back down. Dou Fushi was helpless. I don't know why drifting soul is so obedient. At first I thought that she was pretending, but in the end I discovered that she wasn't pretending and she was really obedient. She did whatever I told her to do, even washing socks is fine. For Dou Fushi to even suspect that this woman is acting, this doesn't make sense at all. Perhaps, Dou Fushi still didn't know that his fart had a bit of a chemical effect. The pink mist had an aphrodisiac effect, and the black mist within Dou Fushi's body was tyrannical and ferocious. It wasn't that drifting soul turned into an obedient woman, it was just that she couldn't stop herself. Perhaps even she herself didn't know why. Drifting soul, that, shouldn't you go and kill men now? Dou Fushi was very panicked, because the current drifting soul didn't seem to hate men anymore. Boring, I don't want to go. Drifting soul said softly. Dou Fushi knew that drifting soul would be like this and he persuaded, how can you do that, you have to stick to your own principles, you can't give up halfway. Not going. I won't go. Dou Fushi covered his face. What should I do? I can't complete the mission that His Honor gave me. Be obedient, if you don't go and kill men, I won't let you play with me anymore. Dou Fushi threatened drifting soul. She was willing to do anything, but right now she just wouldn't go and kill men. Drifting soul pursed her lips. It doesn't matter, I will play with myself. Dou Fushi. Chapter 638. I don't want to. Li Hun said resolutely, then began playing with Yihua's body again. Dou Fushi didn't know what to say anymore. He felt that he was going to go crazy. His Honor will definitely scold him to death. Why did such a thing happen? I, Dou Fushi, don't want to, Your Honor. Save me. A week passed by very quickly. Yihua was a bit annoyed recently. On one hand, it was because of that demoness. Why did she disappear for so long? On the other hand, it was because of his sister-in-law. Ever since that day, this sister-in-law seemed to have changed into another person. If she was afraid of me in the past, then right now she isn't afraid of me at all. Just like right now, I am having a clandestine affair with my sister-in-law again. This is so awkward. Brother-in-law, if big sister finds out that we are lying together like this, what will she do? Qing Yutong, who was lying in Yihua's embrace, asked curiously. In actuality, the two of them didn't do anything out of line, they were just hugging each other. Yihua was still controlling himself. After all, if he were to really push Qing Yutong down, he would be letting Qing Yi down. You seduced me. Yihua said faintly while smoking. Sniff, sniff, brother-in-law, how can you be like this? Alright, let's stop here for today, I have something to do. Yihua extinguished the cigarette. This sister-in-law feels like I can't afford to offend her. However, this kind of stimulating feeling makes me feel very happy. It was normal for Yihua to have such a thought, because there was nothing else in this world that could make him feel excited or nervous. Only when I am having a clandestine affair with my sister-in-law would I have such a feeling. Brother-in-law, don't go. When are we going to make love? Make love your head, don't let your imagination run wild all day. Yihua knocked onto Qing Yutong's forehead, causing the latter to pout, looking extremely pitiful. However, Qing Yutong didn't give up. Brother-in-law, look at big sister and big sister Baiji, they are both pregnant, they definitely won't let you touch them. I don't have any, hurry up, let's talk about it when your big sister agrees to it. Yihua stood up. As a supreme overlord, I have to have principles when doing things. It's fine if I am having a clandestine affair to find excitement, but it's best not to touch my bottom line. I have to take into consideration Qing Ye's feelings and of course the Empress. Qing Yutong was just like a deflated balloon, Brother-in-law, please be merciful, I don't want to be a girl anymore. I think you should go back to leisure bar and play games with Zizi. Yi Hua let out a deep sigh. Recently, I have to stabilize myself a bit. This sister-in-law of mine is still not something that I can push. I'm afraid that one day, I won't be able to hold myself back and push her away. Seeing that Yi Hua had disappeared, Qing Yutong angrily took a pillow and smacked it onto the pillow. This big plan of mine to push down my brother-in-law actually didn't succeed. System, do you think that I'm too ugly? Brother-in-law didn't even have any reaction towards me. Qing Yutong lied on the bed and asked powerlessly. Master, your brother-in-law is an honorable supreme. How can he be pushed down so easily? Furthermore, Master, you're being too proactive. You have to keep him in suspense. Hearing what the system said, Qing Yutong sat up, then said with a smile, I didn't expect that you would be so smart, why didn't I think of that? The Supreme Honorable is also a man. Master, you can do it. Qing Yutong already had an idea. Recently, I have indeed been taking the initiative a bit too much. Next, brother-in-law, if you miss out on today, there won't be such a thing in the future. Yi Hua still didn't know about his sister-in-law's tricks. He appeared at Wei Chang's house and decided to personally ask about Dou Fusher's situation. Why is there no movement at all after so long? Very quickly, Wei Chang found Dou Fusher's aura, and the two of them directly appeared in Dou Fusher's old house. Yi Hua and Wei Chang, who were standing in the central room, immediately wrinkled their brows, because they heard a different kind of sound. Yi Hua's face darkened. I asked Dou Fusher to protect the female devil, but he actually slept with the other party. How can there be such a subordinate in my party? Go and call him over. Yi Hua said gravely. This is too outrageous. Today I have to properly punish this Dou Fusher. Seems like I was too merciful. To actually not take my orders seriously. Yes. Wei Chang replied gravely. Wei Chang was very straightforward. Walking to the door, he shouted, Dou Fusher, come out. All of a sudden, the sound inside the room stopped, and a panicked voice could be heard. In less than a minute, Dou Fusher hurriedly ran out of the room. When he saw that his honor had actually come, he nearly peed in his pants, because his honor's complexion was very bad. Subordinate greets his honor. Dou Fusher hurriedly kneeled on the ground and shouted. At this moment, Li Hun walked out of the room with her clothes on, and when she saw Yi Hua and Wei Chang, her little Dodo was actually kneeling on the ground and trembling. Little Dodo, quickly get up, what are you doing? Who are they? Li Hun's expression changed, and she had the thought of helping Dou Fusher vent his anger. Dou Fusher was frightened by Li Hun's words and he hurriedly shouted out, Li Hun, quickly kneel down. Little Dodo, don't be afraid, I am very powerful. Li Hun wasn't afraid of the two people in front of her at all, and her expression was that of arrogance. Dou Fusher's frivolous expression changed and he shouted out sternly, Li Hun, kneel down right now. Li Hun's brows tightly wrinkled. She didn't understand why Dou Fusher was acting like this, but she had never seen Dou Fusher shout at her before. Li Hun, who was smart, knew that Dou Fusher was in a difficult situation, and thus she chose to obey and kneel down. One must know that Li Hun had never kneeled before. Seeing that Li Hun was kneeling down, Dou Fusher let out a breath of relief, then hurriedly said, Your Honor, Li Hun is immature. Yi Hua sat on a chair in the central room, and Wei Chang stood respectfully at the side. Oh? She is immature and you are going to be immature as well? What did I ask you to come here for? To have sex with her? Yi Hua questioned coldly. He was very angry. Dou Fusher hurriedly lowered his head. Your Honor, please forgive me, subordinate knows my mistake. Li Hun couldn't take it anymore and she shouted out while looking at Yi Hua. Who are you? What does the matter between me and little Dodo have to do with you? Li Hun, don't speak. Dou Fusher's heart was about to jump out from fear. This is my boss. Wei Chang's expression sank, and he raised his hand and slapped Li Hun, who was kneeling on the ground. Li Hun was immediately sent flying, and a big hole was smashed open on a brick. You are actually disrespecting his honor. You are courting death. Wei Chang said sinisterly. Looking at this scene, Dou Fusher's face turned ashen. These few days I have developed some feelings for Li Hun, so how can I bear to see her get injured? As the saying goes, a single night as husband and wife means 100 days of love. It had already been a few nights and Dou Fusher was starting to fall in love with Li Hun. Your Honor, it is subordinate's fault, Li Hun doesn't know anything. Dou Fusher said while kowtowing, and a big hole was smashed open on the uneven ground by Dou Fusher. Chapter 639. Absolute Heaven and Brett were the reason why Fuso Battle was able to join the team. Although Absolute Heaven and Brett were not very satisfied with the results, they had still completed the task. As a result, Absolute Heaven made an exception and allowed Fuso Battle to join the team. Previously, when there was the Green and Red brothers, Yihua felt that if he were to be properly taught, he would be able to take up a great responsibility in the future. However, looking at the mission this time, it seemed that he was thinking too much. I told him to protect someone else, but this is great. He slept with someone else, and in broad daylight he's still messing around on the bed, completely ignoring my words. Looking at the entire team, who would dare to ignore this senior's words? Only this floating battle. Just because he saw that the other party looked good, he slept with the other party. I reckon that he used his strength to coerce the other party. For such a scum to appear in my team, I, the Supreme Overlord, have failed in my judgment. If Do Fusher knew what his honor was thinking about, he would definitely cry out that he was wronged. It's not that subordinate slept with her, it's that she slept with subordinate. In order to please her, this subordinate has tried his best to satisfy her request. Even if she wants to go out and kill men, this subordinate doesn't want to do that. His honor asked you a question. Answer me honestly. Wei Chang bellowed. Even if you break the ground, it's useless. There was not even a scratch on Do Fusher's forehead, only a bit of dust. Your honor, subordinate does not have the face to plead for leniency, it is subordinate's fault. Do Fusher did not explain anything and hurriedly admitted his mistake. At the same time, Li Hun stumbled over from the side. Blood was flowing from the corner of her mouth, but she wasn't afraid at all. She shouted in her delicate voice, "Lil, Dao to get up. We don't need to be afraid of them." Do Fusher's expression was as ugly as it could get. You foolish woman, can't you see the situation clearly? There's only one path in front of you. Your honor, Li Huan didn't say those words on purpose. Please spare her life. Do Fusher begged bitterly. If he were to truly anger his honor, the consequences would be extremely severe. Yihua looked towards Li Hun, and Li Hun wasn't weak at all as he looked straight at Yihua. If it weren't for the fact that you still have some use, I would have killed you right now. Yihua said lightly. This woman was meant to be used to deal with heaven and earth. If not, Do Fusher wouldn't have been sent to protect her. And right now, Do Fusher was actually protecting her on the bed. Who the hell are you people? Lone Soul seemed to have only just recovered from her shock, and she questioned in her delicate voice. Do Fusher knelt on the ground without saying a word. Wei Chang wanted to say something but was stopped by Yihua. I admire your killing methods and I was afraid that something might happen to you, so I asked Do Fusher to come and protect you. In the end, I didn't expect that you, a woman who hates men, would actually rely on a man. This is truly ironic. Li Hun was silent and then asked, You want me to kill people? Why? There are a lot of uses for it. Therefore, the reason why you are still alive right now is completely because you still have a bit of value to me. And this person. I asked him to protect you, but he slept with you instead. Before Yihua could finish speaking, Li Hun said lightly, I was the one who slept with him. When Yihua and Wei Chang heard what Do Fusher said, they both went into a daze for a moment, and soon after they looked towards Do Fusher, seemingly asking if what Do Fusher said was true. Do Fusher sensed the gazes of the big shots and he said guiltily, Your honor, it is subordinate's fault for not being capable enough and I got slept with. Yihua thought that it was Do Fusher who was lustful and used the power that Do Fusher had bestowed upon Yihua. However, who would have thought that it was actually Sol Li who had slept with Do Fusher? This Sol Li is quite pretty, why would she sleep with Do Fusher? Yihua and Wei Chang were a bit confused. And then, the two of you slept with Do Fusher without doing anything? Yihua asked gravely. Although I have misunderstood Do Fusher a bit, in the end I still didn't do my job well. I deserve to be punished. Sol Li said, I was the one who didn't want to go. What? Yihua asked confusedly. Back then, killing stinky men was very satisfying, but being together with little Do, it was even more satisfying. F***K, this explanation is very powerful, I actually can't refute it at all. As long as it is satisfying, it is fine. This woman's requirements are truly low. Your honor, actually, Sol Li told me to accompany her for a few days and then she went out to kill men. Do Fusher said sincerely. That was indeed the truth. Do Fusher had begged Sol Li over and over again, and Sol Li had agreed to accompany Do Fusher for a few days, and then she went out to kill men. Today was the last day and his honor came over. Yihua looked towards Sol Li and the latter said faintly, What little Do said is correct. Yihua let out a light breath, then looked at Dou Fushi and said, "How do you want me to punish you?" Without waiting for Dou Fushi to reply, Li walked over to Dou Fushi's side and slowly knelt down. "Little Dou Fushi is innocent. If you have any problems, then come at me." Li was very domineering. She who had completely lost her confidence in men seemed to have found her confidence in Dou Fushi. Yi Hua was precisely waiting for this sentence and said in a low voice, "I want you to continue killing. The bigger the commotion, the better." "Alright." Li didn't think too much and directly agreed. Yi Hua was very satisfied with Li's attitude. Yi Hua looked at Dou Fushi and said, "I will give you one last chance. Continue to protect her. If you continue to do anything that makes me unsatisfied, you will be kicked out. Do you understand?" "Thank you, Your Honor, for your forgiveness." Dou Fushi hurriedly thanked Yi Hua. "Even after such a thing happened, His Honor still spared me. As expected, His Honor is a good leader." Knowing that it was a misunderstanding, Yi Hua didn't plan to punish Dou Fushi. However, right now Dou Fushi was still being observed. If Dou Fushi was not suitable, Yi Hua would still kick him out. "After all, my team doesn't need trash. You two can go and handle your matters. I hope that I will be able to see the report later on." After finished speaking, Yi Hua left the scene with Wei Chang. Seeing that His Honor and Uncle Wei had left, Dou Fushi immediately collapsed onto the ground. "I was truly frightened just now, and I feel as if I was walking on a tightrope of death." Li looked at Dou Fushi's appearance and a smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. "Little Dou Fushi, are you here to protect me?" "That's right, but I was slept with by you and I was almost killed by His Honor. Dou Fushi was in great pain. "Just what did I do wrong? I am being bullied by all sorts of people. Is this how an honest person should be?" Li lightly hugged onto Dou Fushi who wanted to cry but had no tears. Alright, little Dou Fushi, don't cry, it's just a small matter." "Is it still not big enough?" "Right now, I am unable to calm down even after a long time." "Is that so? Let's go and have another round, then you will be able to calm down." "What? Another round? I still want to live." "It's fine, they have already left. Let's go and handle our matters after one round. Hurry up, I want it." Dou Fushi, with a look of despair on his face, Dou Fushi was dragged into a small black room, and that pleading gaze of Dou Fushi was sending a signal to the entire universe. Although Li is very obedient, his demand is too high. This is not the wife that I, Dou Fushi, want. On the other side, Yi Hua arrived at Wei Chang's house. Chapter 640. Your Honor, Tang Bingyao found a job outside. She's not working at the bar anymore? Wei Chang poured a cup of wolfberry tea for Yi Hua. She's making one serving during the day and one serving at night. Yi Hua took a sip of the tea then said gravely, "If that's the case, then you are in the wrong. Girls are working hard outside and you are just acting like a boss at home." "Your Honor, didn't you say that men need to have status?" Wei Chang said in a low voice. "All of this is because of Your Honor. Yi Hua, you do indeed have status. To let Tang Bingyao work outside to support you, I really don't know what to say. Forget it, it is better for me to not get involved in my family matters. I will just let them do as they please." "Your Honor, actually, this matter with Dou Fushi and Soul departing is also a good thing." Wei Chang stood at the side and said respectfully. "And?" Wei Chang smiled and said, "It is much easier for Your Honor to deal with this matter. Just one act is enough to solve the problem." Yi Hua understood what Wei Chang meant. This soul departing only needs to cooperate for a bit, and the problem will be solved. In actuality, whether or not she cooperates, the result will be the same. "I really don't understand, this woman actually slept with Dou Fushi, but does Dou Fushi have such charm?" Yi Hua muttered curiously. "Your Honor, everyone has their own preferences. Perhaps this soul depari likes Dou Fushi." "True, you continue with your work. I will return to Voidless Realm first." "Goodbye, Your Honor." After returning to Voidless Realm, it was just in time for lunch. Because Donghuang Baiji had to deal with Voidless Realm's matters, Donghuang Baiji learned how to cook. It must be said that this made Yi Hua very happy. Women need to learn how to take care of men, and cooking is one of their basic skills. Although it is not necessary, I still need to have such an attitude, which makes me very happy. Yi Hua walked into his own harem. Let's just call it a harem for now, although there are only 2 of them. Right after walking into the harem, Yi Hua saw his sister-in-law playing with the 2 kids. Yi Hua looked over and noticed that Qin Yutong had changed a bit. Although we just had a clandestine affair, but right now she feels like... She seems to have even put on makeup. and her attire is also rather decent and virtuous. She seems to be walking the route of maturity. This is the type of attire that I, the Supreme Overlord, like. As expected of my sister-in-law, she knows how to please me. The woman that I, the Supreme Overlord, fancy wouldn't be too bad either. She is truly alluring. Dad, Dad, when the two little fellows saw that their father had appeared, they ran towards Yi Hua. Meanwhile, Yi Hua carried one in each of his hands. How was your study this morning? Dong Huangli hurriedly nodded her head. And I will teach little brother addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Dad, it's so hard. Yen mumbled. Yi Hua laughed lightly. Yen, you have to work hard then. And Yen will definitely do your best and bring honor to Daddy. You really are my good son. Let's go. Let's go and eat. Yi Hua was very happy as he carried the child and walked towards the palace. Qing Yutong did not say anything and obediently followed behind Qing Yutong. Dad, quickly put Yenner down. I'll go get the dishes for Mom. Ali also wants to go. Yi Hua felt that his children were rather sensible. Looking at the two little fellows running out, Yi Hua slowly sat down. Meanwhile, Qing Yutong, who was sitting opposite of Yi Hua, was holding onto her chin while looking outside of the house. Not to mention, Qing Yutong's angle was very enchanting. Even Yi Hua, who was used to looking at women like Qingya and Donghuang Baiji, was about to be mesmerized by her. Qing Yutong knew of her own advantage and thus she made good use of it. If it was before, the current Qing Yutong would definitely look for stimulation. For example, taking advantage of the fact that her big sister and the others weren't around, she would sit in brother-in-law's embrace and kiss him. However, right now she completely stopped moving. This caused Yi Hua to be a bit gloomy. If I take the initiative to call her sister-in-law, it would seem that I, the Supreme Overlord, am being too proactive. However, looking at Qing Yutong's beautiful side profile, Yi Hua's heart felt a bit itchy. What kind of tea is that Wei Chong, to actually be able to make me feel a bit hot after drinking it? Although Qing Yutong did not look at brother-in-law, she could feel that brother-in-law was harboring malicious intentions. Humph, I have already taken the initiative for a few days and now it is brother-in-law's turn to take the initiative. This is a good thing I can't get my hands on it too easily. If not, how can I treasure it? Even after the little fellows had served all of the dishes, Qing Yutong still did not move. This caused Yi Hua to be furious. What is this sister-in-law trying to do? Is she trying to keep me in suspense? Her guts are truly getting bigger and bigger. The family of 6 began enjoying the warm lunch. The two little fellows didn't need to be fed at all, and they were able to eat with big mouthfuls. Looking at the 3 women eating was also a kind of enjoyment. Furthermore, Qing Yutong was especially particular today, which was something that Qing Yutong had never done in the past. This caused Qingya to be puzzled. Yo, our family's Yutong is going to take the gentle and virtuous route today. Big sister, if I am not gentle and virtuous, no man would want me anymore. When are you going to introduce me to a man? Being alone is truly lonely. Qing Yutong let out a light sigh. It seems like if I don't have a man, I won't be able to continue living my life. Yi Hua, who was eating, paused for a moment. This sister-in-law of mine sure is gutsy, to actually say such things in front of me. Although I know that Qing Yutong was doing this to anger me, I still feel very unhappy. Donghuang Baiji smiled sweetly. Yutong, the men in Voidless Realm are good, they won't mess around. Among the few great generals, there are also some who have yet to get married. If you fancy any one of them, tell me. Qingya, who was at the side, laughed. That's right, I can see that there are a few of them who are rather honest and dutiful. The two little fellows stopped eating and looked at the adults who were chatting with one another, expressing that they were very curious. After hearing that, Qing Yutong pouted her mouth. Isn't it brother-in-law who has the final say in our family? Yutong will have to listen to brother-in-law's decision. Yi Hua almost spat out the food in his mouth. This sister-in-law sure knows how to play ruthless. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji looked towards their man. At the very least you should say something. What else can Yi Hua say? A few hours ago I was still playing aeroplane chess with my sister-in-law on the bed. Other than that one time at the end, I have basically played everything that I wanted to play. However, right now I have to say something. Yi Hua placed down his chopsticks and said faintly, this kind of matter cannot be rushed, I will investigate it properly. If it is honest and upright it is still fine. Qing Yutong snorted in her heart. Brother-in-law is too bad, he still wants to investigate. Qingya also felt that what Yi Hua said was reasonable. Marriage is indeed a big matter that needs to be taken seriously. Baiji, I will have to trouble you to take care of Yutong. No problem, leave it to me. When the time comes, I will arrange a few people for you to meet and get familiar with each other. Then Yutong will have to thank big sister Baiji. Qing Yutong said with a smile, seemingly very happy. This caused Yi Hua to feel even more unhappy. You are definitely taking revenge on me. Do you think that I, the Supreme Overlord, will spoil you? If you want to go, then go. After eating, the two little fellows began to take an afternoon nap. Meanwhile, Yi Hua took out his phone and browsed through the news. As expected, not long after, the homicidal maniac Li Hun appeared, and the commotion that he caused was quite big. Chapter 641. Due to the commotion this time being rather big, the consequences were also very frightening. People from all over the world started blaming Justice Alliance and Peace Association. Aren't you two an organization that maintains public order? Why didn't you two get rid of this demoness after she appeared for so many days? Or are you saying that you don't have the ability to get rid of this demoness? If you don't have the ability, just say it out loud and everyone will think of another way. This caused Justice Alliance and Peace Association to be in a terrible situation. However, in the next few days the situation became even more serious. That demoness seemed to have gone mad, and no one was able to stop her. She killed every man she saw, scaring a lot of men to the point that they didn't dare to leave their homes anymore. Right now, within Wang Debao's villa, Qing Tian's attitude changed, and his expression was rather gloomy. Wang Debao and Bai Cixin sat on the sofa at the side, and as for Feng Tian, he was still in his autistic state. After giving you so many ancient godly items, why didn't you get rid of that demoness? Qing Tian questioned in a deep voice. Because a female reincarnator actually brought so much trouble to his two organizations, Qing Tian didn't expect this to happen. Previously he was respected and admired by others, but now he was being scolded like a dog and was even labeled as useless. Damn it, all of you are a bunch of unruly people, keyboard warriors. Wang Debao said lightly, Brother Qing, that demoness is simply too powerful. Last time, the people that we brought over all died. If not for us running fast enough, we wouldn't have had any hope of escaping. Excuses? Qing Tian shouted coldly. This caused Wang Debao and Bai Cixin to slightly go into a daze. Seems like this demoness indeed angered Qing Tian. Furthermore, Qing Tian's tone isn't right. Just now, everyone said that they are a team, but looking at the current situation, it seems like he is the one making the decision. I want to see the result within 3 days. Understand? Qing Tian's gaze was deep. This caused Wang Debao and Bai Cixin's heart to sink. Even though they have powerful primordial spirit right now, they still feel that Qing Tian is very powerful. Isn't this nonsense? Back then Xiao Yi also had primordial spirit, and he even reincarnated once, but he was still insta-killed by Qing Tian. The two did not explain too much and nodded their heads. They didn't know how to deal with that demoness. Let's go out. Qing Tian slowly calmed down. The appearance of this demoness gave Voidless Realm a chance to take a breather. If Voidless Realm were to grab hold of this opportunity, they would be able to make a comeback. It seemed that he would have to consider making a move. When Bai Cixin and Wang Debao walked out of the villa, Wang Debao said in a low voice, This seems to be our house. Why are we the ones leaving? It seems that we have to contact Director Shi. Bai Cixin said in a deep voice. They couldn't go on like this. The ship that was Sky Supporting God was about to capsize. Moreover, Sky Supporting God's attitude had changed a lot. It was no longer the same as before. Wang Debao paused and asked curiously, Honey, are we going to join the space-time branch? Let's see. Honey, can't we just live a good life? Do you really have to get sucked into this vortex? Wang Debao heaved a sigh of relief. He was actually feeling a little tired. He had originally thought that he was a top-notch expert in this world. But in the past year, he had discovered that there were simply too many powerful people out there. They were not people that he could fight against at all. Bai Cixin stopped in her tracks and gently hugged her husband. Debao, when we can escape unscathed, we'll live a good life and ignore everything else. Really? Wang Debao was still very excited. Bai Cixin nodded her head. The excited Wang Debao carried his wife and spun her around. Let's go, I'll treat you to KFC. What's so good about KFC? I want to eat popping candy. Bai Cixin laughed tenderly. Wang Debao's mouth became an O shape. My wife hasn't eaten popping candy for a long time, and today she actually wants to eat popping candy. As her husband, of course, I have to give her popping candy. The husband and wife held hands just like a couple who were passionately in love. sat on the car and left. Meanwhile, Sky supporting God was standing beside the window on the second floor. Looking at the husband and wife leaving, the corner of Sky supporting God's mouth slightly rose. Meanwhile, in Voidless Realm, there was a big event that was going to happen today. Right now, within Qin Yutong's palace, Qinya and Donghuang Baiji were busy being cuckolded. Why were they busy being cuckolded? Because Qin Yutong was going to go on a blind date today. These few days, I intentionally ignored my sister-in-law to let her know that I, the Supreme Overlord, am not someone who is to be trifled with. Quickly come over and apologize to me, then we can continue having an affair. In the end, not only did this sister-in-law not come and look for me, she even agreed to go on a blind date with Qinya. This sister-in-law is completely not putting me in her eyes. My two wives are still helping Qin Yutong dress up. Motherfucker, what is there to dress up for? Who the hell dares to go on a blind date with my sister-in-law? Do they not want to live anymore? Where did Yi Hua go after dinner? I didn't see him at all. Donghuang Baiji said doubtfully. Qinya sized up her masterpiece. Who cares where he went? Yutong, are you satisfied with this? Looking at her own reflection in the mirror, Qin Yutong snorted coldly in her heart. Look, where am I lacking? Brother-in-law is actually ignoring me and I even want to go on a blind date with him? Just now, when I was eating with him, he even said that it was fine. And satisfied, too beautiful. Qin Yutong was a skilled actress, and she was able to completely conceal her current mood. Donghuang Baiji, who was at the side, laughed lightly. Yutong, this Tang Yu is the youngster who has the most promising future in the entire Voidless Realm. Not only is he handsome, he is also proficient in all kinds of martial arts, and there is no need to talk about his moral character. Tang family has been protecting Voidless Realm for generations and Tang Yu is the same. I just like handsome men. Qin Yutong let out a series of laughter, seemingly like a love-struck fool. Qinya poked onto her little sister's forehead unhappily. You don't just look at appearances. Ayaya, I got it, don't mess up my hairstyle, success or failure will depend on this. Qinya shook her head helplessly. It's fine for you to be a bit crazy in front of us, but don't be like this in front of other people, be a bit more gentle. I got it. I'll be leaving first, wait for my good news. After finished speaking, Qin Yutong jogged out of the room. Qinya warned loudly, you walk slower. Be a bit more ladylike. Got it? Looking at her little sister leaving, Qinya let out a deep sigh. For her, I have been worried to death. Donghuang Baiji hugged onto Qinya's shoulder and teased, I feel that Yutong and Yi Hua are actually quite compatible, how about we matchmake the two of them? The two of them still want to matchmake each other? Yi Hua can't wait for that to happen. Qinya rolled her eyes. Yi Hua wouldn't accept such a good thing, even if he was beaten to death, he wouldn't believe it. Chapter 642. Donghuang Baiji laughed lightly, I only did it because Yutong is your younger sister. If it was someone else, I wouldn't be willing to do it. Are you trying to push my sister into a pit of fire? Qinya laughed helplessly. Haha, I was just joking, don't take it seriously. It is better to let Yutong decide her own matters. Qinya let out a light sigh. Thinking about my little sister's marriage is giving me a headache. If it really doesn't work, I might as well just marry Yi Hua. If Yi Hua really marries Yi Hua, I will have to worry about what if Yi Hua doesn't treat my little sister well. It must be said that these two women are truly invincible. If Yi Hua were to know what the two women are thinking in their minds, he would definitely be very excited. To actually know how to find a wife for me, the two of you are truly great. In Voidless Realm there was a food street. Voidless Realm felt just like walking into a street in ancient times. During the night, this place was very lively, and Voidless Realm's youngsters would all come here to play and flirt with the big sisters. Of course, this was also a good place for a date. On a stone bridge, the scenery here was very pleasant. Many young men and women were whispering sweet nothings to each other or looking into the distance. There was also a wooden boat below, which was also a good dating mode. Wow, that is Tang Yu, everyone quickly look. So handsome, Tang Yu is so handsome. Why did Tang Yu come out today? So weird. Everyone felt that Tang Yu was very strange. It was very rare for Tang Yu to leave her house. Ever since her father died in the war back then, Tang Yu became a little general, and she was also the youngest general in the entire Voidless Realm. Thus, she received the favor of countless girls, and all of them wished that they could just fall into Tang Yu's embrace and enjoy the caress of a hero. Tang Yu was 189 centimeters tall, the height of a typical male god. He had a head of long, elegant hair, and a face that looked like it had been carved by a knife or axe. It could be said to be perfect. His eyes were calm, but his aura made people not dare to approach him. The two of them combined created a fatal attraction. Following the imposing footsteps, Tang Yu walked to the stone bridge. Placing his left hand on his abdomen and his right hand leaning on his back, Tang Yu looked into the distance and waited for the beautiful woman. Upon closer inspection, Tang Yu was a little nervous. Just today, the Empress was actually arranging a marriage for him. Even Lord Qing's younger sister. Tang Yu had also seen Qing Yutong from far away, and she felt that Qing Yutong was truly very beautiful, and her beauty was on par with the Empress. This caused Tang Yu to feel a bit unconfident, because Qing Yutong was too perfect, and I'm afraid that I'm not worthy of her. Of course, amidst this lack of confidence, he was still very happy in his heart. After all, it was the marriage that the Empress had mentioned. If I can really marry a girl like that, it will be my good fortune. Thinking of this, Tang Yu took a deep breath and her mind began to wander. As the date drew closer, Tang Yu became more nervous. However, at this moment, a series of exclamations rang out. Tang Yu also looked in the direction of the voices. An extremely beautiful woman slowly walked over. She wore a pure white dress and her cheeks were as white as snow. Her eyes were as clear as autumn water, and the smile on her lips was like a red plum blossom on a branch, exuding a pleasant charm. All the men couldn't move their feet when they saw her, and all the women would feel ashamed of their inferiority when they saw her. Her beauty was on par with the Empress. She was Qing Yutong. So beautiful, as expected of Her Majesty's younger sister. That's right, her appearance is comparable to Her Majesty's. I heard that her big sister is even more beautiful. Lord Yi sure is lucky. However, why did she come out today? Didn't she always stay in the palace? She might have come out to take a stroll. Tang Yu swallowed his saliva. This is the girl that I went on a blind date with? She is really so beautiful, and she seems to have dressed herself up meticulously. My God. She actually values this blind date so much. Doesn't this mean that I have a greater chance of getting married? What should I say later? If it is too abrupt, it doesn't seem too good, right? Qing Yutong also saw Tang Yu. Tang Yu looks very similar to the photo. She did not Photoshop. However, when she saw Tang Yu's figure, Qing Yutong took in a deep breath in her heart. I still can't compare to brother-in-law. It can be said that I have fallen into brother-in-law's trap. Right now, I want to compare all the men that I see with brother-in-law. However, compared to brother-in-law, I am simply too weak. Brother-in-law is a real man. I really like brother-in-law Wood. However, in order to make brother-in-law angry, I have to put on a good performance. I don't believe that brother-in-law will be able to endure it. If he is able to endure it, I, Qing Yutong, will admit defeat and throw myself at brother-in-law. As expected, I am shameless. There is no other way. Who doesn't like an outstanding man like brother-in-law? Even the Empress and big sister were able to bury the hatchet, and this is all because brother-in-law's charm is too great. Qing Yutong walked onto the stone bridge step by step, and Tang Yu, who was on the other side, turned around, and her expression began to become abnormally nervous. Seeing Tang Yu's expression, Qing Yutong once again felt that brother-in-law is really too outstanding, to the point that even I have to throw myself at him. Although this man in front of me looks handsome, but seeing me being nervous like this, sigh. Where is my manliness? Where is my aura of dominance? Where is my dignity? Qing Yutong didn't think about what kind of identity I have right now. I am the Empress's younger sister, Lord Ye's sister-in-law. Even if placed in the entire voidless realm, I will still be respected by everyone. Adding on my temperament and aura, ordinary men really won't be able to withstand it. And this Tang Yu can also be considered as a youngster. It is very normal for her to have this kind of behavior. Qing Yutong stood in front of Tang Yu. The latter's mind was in a mess, and the words that she wanted to say just now were all forgotten. However, the people in the surroundings began to discuss among themselves. My God. The reason why Tang Yu came so early is actually because of the Empress's younger sister. Looking at this situation, they should be going on a blind date. Damn, this Tang Yu is too awesome to be able to directly become in-laws with the Empress. I'm so envious. I want to become like Tang Yu too. The men in the surroundings were all envious of Tang Yu, and the women were all envious of Qing Yutong's appearance. Qing Yutong was about to become speechless. This Tang Yu actually doesn't know how to speak. She is already stupefied from looking at me. If the full score was 100 points, Qing Yutong would have to deduct 50 points right now. Let's go for a walk? Qing Yutong said lightly. Tang Yu was feeling ashamed, I actually let other people speak first, I definitely won't be able to leave a good impression on myself. I'm too stupid. All right. Tang Yu was very embarrassed, and after revealing this smile, he became even more embarrassed. Qin Yutong felt that she was going to deduct another 25 points from herself. This man is no good, he doesn't look as good as brother-in-law when he smiles. Qin Yutong and Tang Yu could be seen walking side by side on the street, and the people in the surroundings were very surprised. The two of them are actually on a date. This is a big matter in Voidless Realm. However, Tang Yu didn't know what to say anymore, and could only continue walking foolishly. Chapter 643. About that, today's weather is pretty good. Tang Yu thought for a long time and decided to break this awkward situation. Qin Yutong pursed her lips. Is there such a thing as weather in Voidless Realm? Tang Yu, so awkward it's really so awkward Tang Yu felt that her brain wasn't enough right now. I have to quickly think of a way to save myself and cherish this rare opportunity. I usually stay at home and train my martial arts, write poems and draw. What about you? Tang Yu felt that this topic was pretty good. Don't all girls like this type of guys? Qin Yutong laughed. Is that so? I like guys who know how to play games. Tang Yu, play games? I don't think I have played games before. How am I supposed to continue with this? I am completely unable to continue. I have never left Voidless Realm before, so I don't know how to play games. Tang Yu said helplessly, feeling that she was going to be finished today. Qin Yutong didn't mind at all and said with a smile, You are also doing this for Voidless Realm, I can understand. That's good. How about we go to that pavilion and have a seat? Tang Yu looked towards the pavilion that was not far away from them. That pavilion was a place where guys would brag, drink and so on. All right. Qin Yutong said tenderly. Tang Yu felt that Qin Yutong's voice was super pleasant to listen to. If I can listen to her voice for my entire life, how great would that be? Yihua also felt that his sister-in-law's voice was very pleasant to listen to, and this point was a bit better than Qinya and Donghuang Baiji. Especially when she acts coquettishly, it can simply give you goosebumps. The two walked into the pavilion that was called Huashan Pavilion. The environment inside was elegant, and there were a few guys who were bragging. When they saw the two walking in, the guys stood up and shouted, Lord Qin, General Tang. From the order, it could be seen that Qin Yutong's status was higher than Tang Yu. The two nodded their heads, which could be considered as a response, then directly walked towards the top floor. However, not long after the two left, Yihua walked in with a cigarette in his mouth, and his expression was a bit unkind. When everyone saw that Yihua appeared, they all went into a daze. Soon after, they revealed a look of worship and shouted, Lord Yi. This is how a strong person should be addressed. From their tone, it can be seen that when they called Tang Yu just now, they definitely did not use this tone. Yihua did not pay any attention to her and directly walked upstairs. Tonight, I am going to spank my sister-in-laws, but until it is swollen. Towards Yihua's attitude, no one felt uncomfortable. In fact, they even felt that this was something that a powerhouse should do. Coming to the top of the pavilion, Qin Yutong and Tang Yu sat at a seat that was close to the side. From this angle they could see the entire street, and it was very comfortable. Especially when the cool breeze blew, that comfortable feeling made people feel relaxed and happy. Qin Yutong held onto her chin, then turned her head and looked towards the darkness outside. Curious about what brother-in-law is doing. I'm already going on a blind date. Are you still not anxious? What a bad brother-in-law. Do you want something to drink? Tang Yu asked with concern. Whatever. Qin Yutong said indifferently. Is the tea good? I don't like it. Tang Yu, didn't you say anything? Are all women like this? What do you want to eat? Whatever. Tang Yu was about to collapse. How could she be so casual? However, right at this moment, Yihua walked over. Everyone on the tall pavilion stood up, even Tang Yu stood up, but Qin Yutong didn't. Greetings, Lord Yi. Everyone shouted respectfully. Yihua nodded his head and sat at the side. Although Qin Yutong didn't stand up, the corner of her mouth revealed out a cute arc. Brother-in-law is so cute. I love you to death. Tang Yu, who sat down, saw Qin Yutong smiling and felt curious. Could it be because of me? When Yihua saw that his sister-in-law was smiling so happily, he became furious. To have a clandestine love affair with me, and now you are going on a blind date. Who do you think I am? This is what it means to abandon after having sex. Yihua's appearance undoubtedly brought about a lot of pressure. The people on the tall pavilion left one after another, completely unable to endure such an oppressive atmosphere. However, since Qing Yutong didn't leave, Tang Yu wouldn't leave even more. However, she also didn't dare to speak loudly, and she didn't even dare to talk to Qing Yutong. Lord Yi is Qing Yutong's brother-in-law, coming here today is definitely to inspect me. However, with how I am right now, I am definitely a failure, right? Should I go over and greet him? But looking at Lord Ye's expression, it seems like he doesn't seem to be that friendly. What should I do? My entire body feels uncomfortable sitting here. Where would I have the mood to flirt with girls? And I am completely unable to flirt with girls. Qing Yutong was very happy in her heart. Brother-in-law still cares about me. Look, he even ran over here. This stingy guy is really worthy of being the jealous king of the cultivation world. Although he says no, he actually wants it to death in his heart. After a long time, Tang Yu really felt uncomfortable. Her nerves were about to collapse. About that, I still have some matters to take care of at home, so I will be going back first. Tang Yu squeezed out a trace of a smile. I cannot afford to offend the Empress's younger sister. Wrong. She's my woman, you can't afford to offend her. Qing Yutong was also rather embarrassed and she said with a smile, then you should quickly go back. I'm so sorry. Tang Yu just wanted to go home as soon as possible. She didn't want to think about anything else. When passing by Yi Hua, Tang Yu shouted out respectfully, Lord Yi, I will be leaving first. Yi Hua didn't say anything and nodded his head with a calm face. After Tang Yu left, Qing Yutong snorted. Come over. Yi Hua shouted out in a low voice. For the sake of brother-in-law's good performance, I'll be obedient this time and follow your heart. Qing Yutong sat in front of Yi Hua and pouted. Qing Yutong, you're so bold now going on a blind date. Brother-in-law, you promised it yourself. Qing Yutong said in a low voice. Yi Hua slammed onto the table. You still dare to talk back to me. I really like brother-in-law like this, he's so manly, I love it. It is obviously you, what does it have to do with me? Qing Yutong muttered in a low voice. Yi Hua's expression turned cold, and the two of them instantly disappeared from the pavilion and arrived at Leisure Bar's bedroom. Yi Hua did not hesitate and directly pressed his sister-in-law onto his thigh, then directly gave her a slap. Brother-in-law, it hurts, be gentler. Qing Yutong bit her lips tightly, and that sweet voice of hers really caused Yi Hua's strength to decrease by quite a bit. This sister-in-law of his really knew how to choose the right time to attack when he was full of anger. Yi Hua and Qing Yutong immediately pressed Qing Yutong onto the bed, and Yi Hua and Qing Yutong began to enjoy the pleasure and excitement of having an affair. Brother-in-law, stop for a moment. Qing Yutong shouted out. Not knowing why, when Yi Hua heard Qing Yutong call him brother-in-law, and then such a thing happened, he felt very refreshed. Yi Hua frowned and asked in confusion. Brother-in-law, lie down. Yi Hua wanted to see what kind of tricks this sister-in-law was going to play. Chapter 644. Very comfortable? Yi Hua was a bit stupefied, but what happened next caused Yi Hua to instantly feel excited and comfortable. Yi Hua had also thought about this kind of stimulation before, but he had never mentioned it to Qinya and Donghuang Baiji before. He felt that it wasn't appropriate, but he would often fantasize about it in his heart, and that feeling would definitely be so great that it would explode. However, what this sister-in-law was doing right now was something that Qinya and Donghuang Baiji had never done before. I'm very happy. I'm very happy. This little sister-in-law is mine. Damn, it's so comfortable. Not knowing how long had passed, Qing Yutong licked her lips, then asked with a beaming smile, Brother-in-law, is it comfortable? Yutong, your performance is wrong. I like it very much. Yi Hua gave the highest praise to Donghuang Baiji. From the looks of it, Qinya and Donghuang Baiji had never received such praise before. Sob, I'm so happy. Brother-in-law actually praised me. Qing Yutong was also very excited. To be able to get brother-in-law's praise is truly too hard. Just look at those subordinates of brother-in-law, they are all thinking of ways to get praise. Even big sister and big sister Baiji are the same, they are doing their best to do everything well, all for the sake of getting brother-in-law's praise. Right now, Yi Hua felt that his entire body was feeling very comfortable. I've been holding it in for a long time. Luckily, I have Yutong's help. While hugging onto his sister-in-law's fragrant shoulder, Yi Hua asked curiously, where did you learn this trick from? Qing Yutong hugged onto Yi Hua's waist and said with a beaming smile, how is there a need to learn? Everything is for the sake of serving brother-in-law. And Yutong, it's good that you have this kind of awareness. You didn't waste brother-in-law teaching you for so long. Sob, as long as brother-in-law is happy. Qing Yutong immediately began acting coquettishly, and Yi Hua enjoyed it very much. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji very rarely act coquettishly in front of him now. In the past they would still act coquettishly a little, but now that they are the mother of 2 children, it is very difficult for them to act coquettishly even for a month. However, the feeling of having a clandestine love affair is still very great. It's no wonder that so many men like it. The Supreme Overlord like it as well. Brother-in-law, there's still time, do you want to do it again? Alright, we'll go back when you're done. Okay, Yi Hua closed his eyes and placed both of his hands behind his head, enjoying the comfortable feeling that his sister-in-law gave him, very comfortable. Within Voidless Realm, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji had also heard about this news. Qingya, it seems like us men are interested in Yutong, to the point that we have to personally watch over this blind date. Donghuang Baiji let out a delicate voice, seemingly not really caring about it. However, this was also Qing Yutong. If it was another woman who tried it, they would have already taken out a blade and rushed towards Donghuang Baiji. Qingya held onto her forehead and said in a low voice, "From the very start, this Yi Hua never had good intentions towards Yutong. In the past he even said that he wanted me to send condoms to Yutong. Don't you think that this is infuriating?" Donghuang Baiji pushed aside her hair and said lightly, "Qingya, Yutong has been with Yi Hua for so long, and right now, every single man would compare Yi Hua with Yi Hua. Say Yi Hua is so outstanding, who else would she like?" That's true, no matter what kind of man is compared to Yi Hua, they would all feel inferior. Qingya agreed with what Donghuang Baiji said. "My man is the most outstanding man in the world. That's why, if your sister were to continue competing with Yi Hua, she would definitely end up alone for the rest of her life. Furthermore, Yutong has been living with us for so long, we are already a family. If she were to really marry out, I would still be a bit worried." Qingya turned her head around and looked at Donghuang Baiji, then said doubtfully, "Baiji, did you receive something good from my sister? To think that you are actually trying to enlighten me here. How is that possible? Yutong is truly a good girl, not many men are worthy of her." "Humph, I think that Yi Hua is the one who came to look for you to persuade her. In the past, Donghuang Baiji wasn't like this, and right now, Donghuang Baiji is actually acting as the matchmaker between her sister and her husband." Alright, I won't say any more lest you think that I am a spy." Donghuang Baiji raised her hands and surrendered. In actuality, this was also a suggestion. Qingya was Qing Yutong's big sister, and this matter still had to depend on whether Qingya agreed or not. "I heard that the 2 of them disappeared and I have no idea where they went," Qingya said in a low voice. Donghuang Baiji was trimming her nails, then said with a smile, "What else can they do? We are not even allowing Yi Hua to touch them, and Yi Hua is probably going to find trouble with his sister-in-law. This won't do, I have to go and catch them, this is too outrageous," Qingya said indignantly. In actuality, she still hadn't thought things through in her heart. From a certain point of view, if Yutong were to marry Yi Hua, Qingya would be at ease. At the very least, Yi Hua would treat Yutong with sincerity. If it was someone else, Qingya wouldn't be able to say anything. Right now, her sister had undergone an earth-shattering change, who knows what other people are plotting. However, just as Qingya was preparing to go and catch them, Yi Hua appeared in front of the door. "You 2 haven't slept yet?" Yi Hua said faintly. His expression was very normal, as if nothing had happened. Qingya's expression changed, and immediately, a smile appeared on her face. She pulled Yi Hua to sit on a chair, then lightly massaged Yi Hua. "Yi Hua, where did you go just now?" Qingya probed. If Yi Hua didn't even have this bit of awareness, then what was the point of having an affair? He would have been caught long ago. "I didn't go anywhere, I just strolled around with Yutong and taught her how to win over a man's favorable impression." While saying this, Yi Hua couldn't help but think back to the scene just now. "Yutong sure put in a lot of effort to win over me." Qingya went into a slight daze. "My husband isn't walking the normal path. Actually, Baiji and I had discussed it just now. We feel that we won't be at ease if Yutong were to marry someone else, so we wanted to ask for your opinion." "Hihi, if I were to fall for your trick, I would be chopped up during the live stream. What opinion?" Yi Hua asked curiously. "Didn't I tell you before, I will just let Yutong follow you?" Qingya said tenderly, as if she was forcing Yi Hua to marry her. To be honest, Yi Hua's heart was slightly moved, but the answer that came to his mind was, "Don't fall for my trick, Qingya is lying again. I have taught you so many times, lying is a bad habit. You have to learn from me, never lie to others." "What kind of crooked idea is this? Yutong is my sister-in-law, and you are even Yu Tong's big sister. This is too outrageous. I have to properly criticize you. Hurry up and dispel this idea of yours. Yi Hua shouted out coldly. Do you think that I, the Supreme Overlord, don't know about your little tricks? However, what Yi Hua didn't expect was that Dong Huang Baiji actually approved of the idea. And although Qingye didn't approve of the idea, at the very least she didn't oppose it just now. Qingye was a bit unsure of what her husband was thinking. Is he really not feeling anything towards my little sister, or is he just pretending? As expected of a man who once won the Best Actor award, to be able to even deceive his wife. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.